Madam Speaker, I rise to offer my contribution on the 2016-2017 budget, but just to start, allow me, Madam Speaker, to extend my sympathies to Honorable John and his family on the passing of his mom. I recognize and understand the trying times that he's into. I ask this House and all of Dominica to continue to pray for the family in such trying times. I listened to the Honorable Catherine Daniel, Madam Speaker, this morning attentively. And though I may not agree with all what was said, but I must say that she gave an extremely good account of her ministry. And I think that this is what we should be doing in the House of Assembly, Madam Speaker, when you come here. So, but that is not saying that I agreed with all that she had to say, but she did a very good account of her ministry, so I did listen attentively. Madam Speaker, this budget is the 16th budget of this government in a 37-year-old nation. It stands for reason, Madam Speaker, that an individual 37 years or younger, their success or their failure would lie directly at the feet of this government, because generally you would have been approximately 21 years old when this government got into office. So for almost half of your life, the taxes that you would have paid would be to this government. The industries you would have seen prosper or close would have been at the feet of this government. If you own a piece of land or if you own a house, it would be falling at the feet of this government. Your general development or lack thereof would be at the feet of this government. So you should judge your success or your failure at the performance of this government. The business people, for the past 16 years, should also judge the satisfaction or dissatisfaction of their business on this government. This government took a position where there should be one university graduate in every household, something which I supported, Madam Speaker. However, Madam Speaker, the question is, where are these graduates today? Are they coming home? Or are they staying out there? A lot of them graduated, they're smart Dominicans. But is that what they really wanted? I believe they wanted to come home. I believe they all wanted to come home to serve the country. The question is, where are the opportunities over the last 16 years for these Dominicans? Madam Speaker, this 16th budget, I'm not seeing much difference from the last 15. And I'm asking, is there any hope? Is there any hope, Madam Speaker, in what is happening? We must be practical. We must look at what is happening, Madam Speaker, and from year to year, we see this country continues to struggle with an extremely large cabinet, Madam Speaker, per capita compared to the region. I've been an advocate for reduction in the size of this cabinet, which would reflect itself in the recurrent expenditure, Madam Speaker, and that's not forthcoming. We are aware, Madam Speaker, we know that there are a number of ambassadors around the world and diplomats join salaries of the state, Madam Speaker, but the question is, are the people getting value for money? Madam Speaker, I'm concerned. Can we reduce the size of cabinet? And I'm saying yes. Because why can the Office of the Attorney General be merged with the Ministry of Justice, Immigration and National Security? Why can that happen? The office. It won't be the first time. Why, Madam Speaker, won't the Ministry of Information Technology merged with the Ministry of Education. I dare say, Madam Speaker, that I'm yet to establish a need for a 16-ministry cabinet running a small nation as ours, Madam Speaker. And in a real sense, Madam Speaker, I know that it is something practical that all of the ministers can associate with, whether they would like to be in the cabinet or not. But, Madam Speaker, we need to reduce it because we know what they say about idle hands. It's the devil's workshop. And if you don't have work to do, Madam Speaker, then that can happen. Because, Madam Speaker, just next door in St. Kitts, the whole of a ministry of agriculture, health, national health insurance, human settlement, community development, gender affairs, social services, cooperatives, and land is held by one individual, just next door, Madam Speaker, in St. Kitts and Nevis. Further, Madam Speaker, with a population of 57,000 citizens, they are served with a cabinet of 8 ministers, including the Prime Minister. It means that each minister, Madam Speaker, will be serving approximately, on an average, 7,140 citizens. In Antigua and Barbuda, another twin island. And I'm speaking to this, Madam Speaker, to see how we can reduce our recurrent expenditure. Of 92,000 persons, they serve with 10 ministries, meaning that serving an average of about 10,000 citizens per minister. In Dominica, we are not twin. With 73,000, Madam Speaker, 60 ministries, 1 Attorney General, Parliamentary Secretary, we are serving approximately 4,500. Madam Speaker, something must be wrong with these figures, or something is wrong with the countries. I'm saying, Madam Speaker, we have certainly one of the lowest performing cabinets in the OECS and CARICOM. Maybe if we reduce on the size of cabinet, people will take their work seriously and we can move on, Madam Speaker. So I am putting it forward, Madam Speaker, that the government should seriously look at a reduction in cabinet. Maybe, Madam Speaker, if we were having appraisals for ministers as we have for the public servants and for the private sector, maybe, Madam Speaker, maybe if we were having appraisals, we would have been able to find an easy reduction in the size of the cabinet. But, Madam Speaker, in addition to that, we are seeing appointments, Madam Speaker, of individuals who were not elected from the last election, attracting salaries of some of them to $80,000 per year. I'm saying, Madam Speaker, we need to reduce on the recurrent expenditure so we can put monies to the capital expenditure so this country can develop, Madam Speaker. This is what I am saying. I'm not into seeking to have person does the job, because people should survive. But, Madam Speaker, we must look at the bigger picture. We ought to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to ensure, Madam Speaker, that we become efficient. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, to work in your interest, because you'd have less hours to sit here when we're having the sitting of the House. So, Madam Speaker, what is happening, taxpayers of the country must be concerned. Because in the meantime that we have this large cabinet, we have issues where teachers, Madam Speaker, lacking computers at schools and have to be at school sometimes on a Sunday, entering information for the system, Madam Speaker. Okay? Facts are stubborn things. Madam Speaker, in the meantime, farmers are crying out for help. Bus drivers are losing their investment. But, Madam Speaker, we are speaking of building a more resilient Dominica, which I would like to see, by the way. This budget, Madam Speaker, I look at 2 concepts. There are some things in this budget, Madam Speaker, that I have no reason to point my finger at negatively. But there are some items that one can say it's coming across. Why is all of this is going on? Taken for the police individuals. It is not fair, Madam Speaker, for working country, but comfortable. Statements, Madam Speaker, for 20. Be better off. Madam Speaker, that practice seems not to find favor. We stay resilient, hardworking, strive, Madam Speaker, back to the wheel, Madam Speaker, and we will continue to work. This budget comes across to me, Madam Speaker, as mere provocation. Madam Speaker, the constituents of Wesley, Woodford Hill, Palmtree, a barrage of C-30 when will this thing stop in 2015? $5 million to have remedial work done on that wall. 20 a pinch of salt. Because how are you going to works to work with $5 million? Yes, Madam Speaker, none was done. 2015-2016 budget, we saw $1 million. What was done? Not 1 cent of work was done, Madam Speaker. And of course, with the passage of Tropical Storm Erika, it got worse. Madam Speaker, in this budget, we are seeing again a reduction in the amounts towards this wall, Madam Speaker. So we have moved from $5 million, we are now down to $700,000, Madam Speaker, without one bit of work being done, and it's going down and down. Eventually there will be none, and the road will remain the same. I'm calling on this government, Madam Speaker, please pay some attention to this matter. It's a serious situation. It is not something that the people of Western Woodford Hill are playing games with. It is not something that the people think that they're asking for because they would like to ask for it. It is something that is needed, Madam Speaker. It is needed. I am suffering out of that like everybody else. So we need to pay some serious attention to this matter, Madam Speaker. And let's stop playing games with the people of this constituency. The people are facing a serious issue, and I'm calling on the Minister of Works, though she's not there. And I want to say to her, be fair to the people of the Northeast, be fair to the constituents of Wesley, Woodford Hill, and Palmtree, and take a page from the book of Honorable Daniel, account for what you have done. So I know she may be listening somewhere, so I really would like to ask of her, Madam Speaker, to pay some attention to this situation out at Marigot. Madam Speaker, I have listened to the proposal of this government as it relates to citizens 70 years and older. And I'm saying in this House and out of this House is something that I've been advocating for, that we needed to increase the allocation to these individuals. Let's not forget, Madam Speaker, a number of these people who are retired today worked hard for this country, but there was not the opportunity then for them to have a pension insurance, and sometimes not the opportunity for them to have paid to the National Providence Fund. We are aware of that. And as a result, Madam Speaker, I have said it before, and I'm saying it again, Madam Speaker, that I'm in favor of the increase. I wish it is more. I am supporting the opposition leader at 400, but I would like to see it more, Madam Speaker, because these people have worked for the country, and it is not a favor. It is not a favor that we are doing to them. However, Madam Speaker, in Wesley constituency, in light of the fact, Madam Speaker, that I was aware that this program was on, I've been making requests for individuals in the constituency, Madam Speaker, who are not receiving any other benefits, who The authorities are aware are over 70 years and older, who the authorities are aware can't afford, whose name are brought up to the authorities, Madam Speaker, but for some reason, they see not to be, I write to them. I'm speaking of the government. Okay, those that I've written to. And I'm saying, Madam Speaker, it is just not fair because, Madam Speaker, it is documented. I am not just speaking to things, I'm speaking to things that are documented. But in good faith, Madam Speaker, I will engage the Honorable Minister. I will, because I believe the Minister may mean well. So I am going to engage Madam Minister. So, Madam Minister, I will be engaging you. I'll bring copies of the letters and we'll seek to see how we can address this matter, Madam Speaker, because it cannot be that it cannot be that, Madam Speaker, it is for some. It must be for all. And having listened to the Minister, I am going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt that someone did not give her the information, and as a result, I will engage her myself. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, Madam Speaker. But, Madam Speaker, I am going to also say that I would like to ask of the Minister that the Wesley Community Center was started in 2013. That is no one I saw under the BNTF, that we need to pay some attention to that building as well. We need to pay some attention. And, Madam Speaker, I wish when we sit here and speak that we would take the things we are saying in good faith. Because to be fight, anyway, is the Minister I'm speaking to, and I believe that I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt until she shows me otherwise. So I'll ignore the others. Okay? But there's a community center in the village that started in 2013, is not completed. It is in a residential area, encouraging rodents and other insects. And I'm saying that it is something that we need to seriously address. And I'm certain that that will receive some attention. I've also heard of and I'm repeating this, Madam Speaker, repairs to the Woodford Hill water supply and Wesley. And I'm happy to, I'm looking forward towards that. And Madam Minister, I'll work with you. I'll work with you. Give me a call and let us get these items done, Madam Speaker. It is not, Madam Minister, it is for Dominicans at the end of the day. And once Dominicans are going to benefit, I think that is the way that we ought to go. That's the way we ought to go. To the Minister, and to the Ministry, and to the government, not human, concerning Don Prince, a citizen from, a villager from Wesley, whose husband served in the village council and died in office. Her home was challenged. And we have been asking, begging, she's out of her home from Tropical Storm Erica. This lady's husband died in office, serving the state, and to date she cannot get any support. And I'm asking here again publicly, please, can we get something done for this poor lady to ensure that she can go back at her home and live a normal and comfortable life after losing her husband with the rest of her children, Madam Speaker. So I'm asking of that. We need to spend some time and look at the village council office. The clerk is still writing memos and invitation in pen and paper. We also need to look at that because we need to ensure that the facilities afforded to other councils is afforded to the one in Wesley as well. So now that we are going down that road, I hope that at least out of that ministry we can start seeing some work, because I'm prepared to work with all of the ministers to see the lives of the people of Wesley, Woodford Hill, and Palm Tree better. I'm prepared to work with you. So I'm saying to you all ministers, do not say that I'm not prepared. I'm saying it publicly. I am prepared to work with all of the ministers to ensure that the lives of the people of Wesley, Woodford Hill, and Palm Tree is better. So I'm offering my service, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I note that the government intended to collect some $70 million last year under the signature by investment. I also know that they are projecting they may collect over $99 million. And they're looking at another 200 million, Madam Speaker. Good figures. But where are the projects? Where are the projects to go with those? We need to put some of this money into income-generating programs so that the lives of the people of Dominica will be better off. And I'm saying, Madam Speaker, and I'm proposing that we have a project in Woodford Hill, Honorable Minister of Tourism, the Woodford Hill Lake. Honorable Minister, this is the same project that I invited you to visit with me, that you were busy. You were busy. That's the same project I invited, because since the 90s, Madam Speaker, this have been on the cards. The land was acquired by the United Workers' Party for that program. It was acquired. We already had the land being acquired. And I am saying that this can be a life changer for the people of Woodford Hill. Yes, it can be. And I'm encouraging the government to look at some of the monies that they're attracting from the citizenship program and put towards this program, because that lake, Madam Speaker, can take river tubing, sport fishing. It is the home to the largest iguanas on island, Madam Speaker, that area. It will enhance the village, Madam Speaker. It will create some employment, and it will increase visitors' arrival, which will seek to change the lives of the people of the west of the Woodford Hill village. And, Honorable Minister, I want to encourage you to come with me so we can get your engineers. Not a vai-ki-vai. We're not going to stay here and start shooting figures. Let us sit and let us be constructive in what we are going to do. Because
you have 5 minutes left.
Sorry?
You have 5 minutes left.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to propose an extra 15 minutes for the... Extra 15 minutes for this.
I second it, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
An extra 10 minutes, Madam Speaker.
I second it, Madam Speaker.
No. Thanks for the 10 minutes, Madam Speaker. I very much appreciate that. Madam, give us some. Hello. What? You're wasting my time. I haven't got much time. I'm not halfway as yet.
I have 10 minutes on the table.
Thank you, but no. Madam Speaker, no.
I have to bring it to the House,
okay.
Remember.
Okay.
I have to bring it to the House, so will you please take your seat and allow me to do so? I appreciate your enthusiasm, though. Definitely. It has been moved and seconded that the member be given a further 10 minutes to complete his contribution.
Gentlemen, come on. Those
in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. You have your 10 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I want to go on the record thanking the ministers for starting to cooperate with me. I want to thank them for that, Madam Speaker. That is very good.
Okay.
So, as I move on, Madam Speaker, but as I stand here, I must talk a little about agriculture. Because that is what is happening, and that is what's bringing life to the people of the Wesley Woodford Hill constituency. And I've listened to the minister this morning, a lot of enthusiasm, but I'm asking, please, let's take agriculture seriously. Let us, the energy that we are putting into it here, let us put the same energy into the field and with the farmers, and work with the farmers so the farmers can have a better living, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, I need to inform that this government allocated $36 million, Madam Speaker, out of a budget of $680 million. We all admit that the challenges of last year for the farmers, it will be greater this year. We must admit that. However, Madam Speaker, last year, we awarded, for the capital side, 13% for agriculture. We are down now, Madam Speaker, to 8%. Across the board for agriculture last year was 6%. We are down now to 5%. 1% down, Madam Speaker. So are we saying that the farmers will be 1% worse off at the end of 2017 compared to the end of 2016 financial year? I'm saying, Madam Speaker, the farmers cannot afford to be worse off. They cannot afford to be worse off because things are difficult and hard for the farmers of the West Reported constituency and by extension all the farmers of Dominica. So I'm asking the Minister to put some efforts into that. And Speaker, I've noticed that the government has practically washed its hands on the vessels. And if we don't have transportation for the agricultural products, we have an issue. I noticed that they are now looking at a joint venture. It's years, Madam Speaker, it's years. And really, I don't care if it's a joint venture, a single venture, a triple venture. Once the farmers can get the produce out of this country and the farmers can get a market, this is all I am concerned about. But we need not to throw hands up in the air, Madam Speaker. They may have tried with the vessel and tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. However, let's get serious. Let us get this thing done. Black Sigatoka continue to ravage the farmers, Madam Speaker. It continues to be an issue. We have noticed $1.1 million in the estimates for Black Sigatoka. 2015, 2016, we were somewhere about $2.8 million. But we only spent about $700,000. Is it that brought Black Sigatoka under control? The answer is no. It did not bring it under control, Madam Speaker. Because the farmers are struggling. With yellow Sigatoka, there needs to be a cycle of at least 28 days. The black Sigatoka needs 14 days. Now, Madam Speaker, if they were giving the black Sigatoka 28 days, we could get somewhere, you know. But 3 months cannot be acceptable. It cannot be acceptable. We are not going to bring this thing under control. It is a national problem. And whether you are on the government, opposition, labor, workers, this black Sigatoka must be addressed. So we cannot be playing games with it. Okay? So, come on. We must stop spreading rumors here. Anyway, Madam Speaker, it is something that we need to address. I'm saying the $1.1 million is still insufficient, and we need to take the advice of the professionals and maybe relook and go back to the $2.8 million, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, I'm in the constituency. I'm on the field, and I'm seeing what is happening to the farmers. It is a problem, Madam Speaker. Banana bunches are dropping from the trees. Just dropping from the trees. Okay? So it is a problem, Madam Speaker, and I really wish, Madam Speaker, that we're going to address. Madam Speaker, what I noticed, and the government moved in 2012 and declared that they were aware from 2010 that the black Sigatoka disease was in Dominica. They advised the farmers that they should cut the banana trees. And I understand that, yes, but that was the right thing to do. You need to slash back on the trees. That was the right thing to do. And they moved, Madam Speaker, yes, the farmers adhered. And that's why the ministry moved into bringing in some plantlets. I'm also on record supporting the importation of the plantlets because I think it was something that we should do, Madam Speaker. But I'm also on record warning that if it was not black seeker token resistant, we were going to have another issue, because if it is coming in and it's not resistant, then we must treat it effectively so that they don't get infected. That did not happen, Madam Speaker. So what did you find? What did you find, Madam Speaker? Another issue where the banana plantlets, Madam Speaker, got infected with the black seeker token. And I'm not rejoicing about that. I'm very unhappy about that, as a matter of fact, because the farmers are the ones suffering. And when the farmers are suffering, I will never be happy. I cannot be happy about it. So, Madam Speaker, what did we see? Moving from the black seeker token, we can't get markets for the bananas. The market is an issue. Those that happen to survive the black seeker token, Madam Speaker, we still can't have a market for it. The food chain, Madam Speaker, is broken, and that's an issue. That's an issue, Madam Speaker. Some of these farmers had to take loans. Some of them had to dry their savings because they believe in the government and they believe in the plantlets. And I am guilty of encouraging them, Madam Speaker. I am guilty of encouraging the farmers to use those plantlets, okay? But, Madam Speaker, some of them borrowed money from their friends. But what is the reality at the end of the day? None of that has happened, Madam Speaker, and we have no market. Then the farmers are under pressure. The farmers are under pressure. If it is not true, there would be no bananas in the Northeast, as Honorable Black must say, to be on the street. They would be in the market. They would be in the market. It's because we have no market, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, in light of the fact that the farmers were forced, had to, I encouraged them, and they moved into the planting of the banana plantlets, Madam Speaker. I wrote to the minister, and I said, Honorable Minister, can you please organize a fund to assist the farmers who have experienced these losses because they have taken loans. They have used monies from the friends. They have used up their savings. I'm saying we have extension officers. We can establish the losses by each farmer. Let us establish a fund so we can support the farmers, Madam Speaker. Not even a response, Madam Speaker, I received from the letter. And I'm saying to the Honourable Ministers, I am still making the request. I am prepared, Madam Speaker. I am prepared, Madam Speaker, for us to work together. Let us see what we can do to assist the farmers, because this is not an arbitrary call. It is a reasonable call, Madam Speaker, because the farmers depended on the advice of the government. And I would like us to see what we can do to support these farmers into bringing across their, into getting some money so they can liquidate, Madam Speaker, their losses. Our men, Madam Speaker, are in the field because a lot of our farmers are men. And no, they're not making money. But now they're saying to them, pay up or go up. Now let me say something. Fathers must take care of their children. I want to put that on the record. I want to be clear about that. Fathers must make every effort to take care of their children. It is unreasonable, and the mothers as well, it's unreasonable to leave the children out on the street. Okay? But if the farmers cannot make money, if the farmers are challenged in making money, I'm taking of my children. If the farmers are challenged in making money, Madam Speaker, they would be challenged in paying their debt. So I'm asking the government to seek to see how we can create some employment in the Northeast, because we cannot afford to have more people from the Northeast going to prison. Let us see what we can do, Madam Speaker, to have the young men of the Northeast make some money so they won't have to go up. Okay, I would prefer if they pay up, Madam Speaker. The BAM. The BAM. That relax yourself. The Speaker is relaxing. The BAM, Madam Speaker. The intention of the BAM, Madam Speaker, was to look at feeder roads, tissue culture plants, fertilizers, suicide, and other support services. I'm sorry, fungicide, insecticide. Well, this fungicide can help persons to commit suicide, you know. So, because when things get bad, Madam Speaker, it might be misused.
So you call it suicide?
Yeah, but Madam Speaker, I'm saying this to say that it's a serious matter. It's a serious matter.
Suicide.
So, Madam Speaker, the feeder roads for the BAM, we welcome the reconstruction of the Mango Gutter Road, but we are also saying, Madam Speaker, that this is the only road in the constituency that seems to be coming up for repairs. We have other roads, Madam Speaker, like the Jackma Road, the Joe Pamtree Road, the Simple Road, Madam Speaker, the Mambury Road, Madam Speaker, and very importantly, a feeder road, Madam Speaker, from Wesley to Londonderry, which would also serve as a bypass in the event of any major disaster and the road is blocked down the turning hill, Madam Speaker, because that would also be the access to the Melvin Hall Airport. So it is important, Madam Speaker, that we put money into these areas, and I want to encourage the Minister of Works to look at that road specifically, because it is going to serve the villagers. But importantly, yes, Madam Speaker, thank you. But importantly, Madam Speaker, if the village road is blocked and no one can go to the Melvin Hall Airport, we have a serious wrong to make, and we can use that road, Madam Speaker, to... Sorry? We can use that road, Madam Speaker, to minimize the possible inconvenience that we may have in this case. Madam Speaker, as we are on the BAM, I want to also alert that and remind the government that our major influence for the EU funds, yes, Madam Speaker, thank you. I'm closing here, Madam Speaker. The major influence for the EU funds is Britain, and we now know that they are no longer with the EU. I want to say to the government, please remember that we need to ensure that we have proper influence out there, so we cannot just take it for granted that they are out. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for the 10 minutes. I want to thank the other ministers of government for the 10 minutes. May God bless.
No, I've exchanged seats already. Yes, so the camera can see me. Madam Speaker, it's a pleasure. Oh, so sorry. She can see me. Thank you. Madam Speaker, it's a pleasure to stand here before you, this honorable House, to debate the 2016-2017 budget. I'd also like permission to refer to my notes on a regular basis. Firstly, I want to thank God for giving each of us here today life. As we all know, life is something that is very precious and can be taken away from us at any point in time. I want to convey my condolences to the family of Dominica from the Roseau Central Constituency. She was laid to rest after a serious fight against lupus. And as you can see from my shirt, I am lending support to the awareness, and my socks, that you can see, to the awareness of lupus. Madam Speaker, I give my full support to this year's budget themed Building a Resilient Dominica, presented by the Honorable Prime Minister. As we know, tourism is the activity of people traveling to and staying in places outside of their regular environment for business or other purposes. Tourism is a dynamic and competitive industry which requires the ability to change constantly to the needs of customers. The Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal has the responsibility for the sustainable development of tourism, with special emphasis on promotion, marketing, and the development of products and services in keeping with that emphasis. Our mission is to provide the enabling environment to do so. Our vision is to promote Dominica as the premier eco-tourism destination. Mr. Speaker, consultation has been one of the key areas of focus for the Ministry of Tourism. Much of this has been done on a group basis and also via the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association. The Dominica Tourism and Hotel Association, also known as the DHTA, plays a pivotal role in advancing the needs and wants of the sector. I want to also congratulate and thank the president of the DHT and the board members for the support and for the constant dialogue that allows us to understand the needs of this sector. I think today, actually, there will be a new president of the DHT, and Mr. Speaker, I want to convey the ministry's continued support towards that success. I also want to thank the core tourism industry members, who are the vendors, the community tourism groups, the taxi association, the drivers, the artisans, tour guides, and hair braiders, and all others in the industry, both directly and indirectly associated with tourism. The Ministry of Tourism is committed to working with you and your members in the best interests of our beautiful country, Dominica. I also want to thank the staff of the Ministry of Tourism, the staff of the Discover Dominica Authority, and also the staff of the Dominica Festivals Commission, who are committed to making tourism better for all of us. Together as a team, with a common vision and understanding, much will be accomplished, with the end result being increased economic activity, the creation of wealth, more jobs for all, including the youth, and increased revenue from the government, not by the increase of tax, but by the hotels and all the responsible subsectors increasing their sales. The Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal, in executing its mandate for the past year, has touched the lives of many Dominicans, including households and communities. Such is the nature of the tourism sector that is frequently described as everybody's business. We all have to do our part. The ministry sought to address the concerns of both the consumers, providers of services in the sector, and for the year under review, we were made to implement systems that would mitigate the deficiencies that diminish the efficiency of all of our operations. We encouraged all players to be cognizant of the need to play our part in maintaining a high-quality product and complement that with excellent service. In this way, the demand for our product will be maintained and even increased. Mr. Speaker, as we're all aware, the event sounding Tropical Storm Erica reminded us of tourism that Dominica promotes is fragile, dependent on the alterations or the effects of weather and other natural elements. Climate change is real, and we must plan for these changes in our environment by adhering and paying attention to the rules of the Ministry of Planning. We can no longer build within the floodplains of our rivers, and we can no longer build without planning permission. Dominica, the nature island, was severely curtailed in its activities, more so tourism, which experienced significant loss to properties, sites, and other persons. The financial year 2015-2016 by no means was one that could be considered a normal year for Dominica and also for tourism. Many families lost loved ones and properties, and many were displaced. Even today, as 158 residents of Dubique who were displaced have moved into new homes donated by the Petro-Caribbean, many families are still unable to feel a sense of peace because many of their loved ones, their bodies have never been found. Following Tropical Storm Erica, damage to the sector revealed significant financial loss. The overall loss was in the area of about $47 million. The dive sector also reported that out of 11 dive operators, only one was affected. Many businesses were not able to operate for varying periods of time, but we want to remind proprietors that they cannot carry all of the risks themselves. They need to transfer those risks to reputable insurance companies. As we realized, many of them were actually not insured, and they took the insurance themselves, and obviously did not have the necessary savings to do those repairs, so it's important to transfer the risk. The Dominica Hotel Association also provided support in the assessment of these properties. Again, this shows the communication and the advocacy that we had together. Many said on the other side are saying that there's no consultation, but this clearly shows that we've been working very closely with our stakeholders. And we were able to put together, the government of Dominica was able to contribute $100,000, even at these hard economic times, especially in light of all the challenges that the government faced, to provide support in the amount of $100,000 to 6 properties in Dominica. Numerous sites were damaged and much had to be done because, as you know, August, the season opens in October and we had to do a lot of work. But again, with proper planning and insight and support, we were able to get all of these sites ready for the tourism season, and I'm happy to say that we were able to please the cruise lines properly as a result of that. Mr. Speaker, today to me is also a very sad day, when individuals who are expected to know better do the exact opposite of what is expected. The four-way test is a non-partisan, non-sectarian, ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional lives, and I think all of us ought to use that. It goes this way. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bring goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Members of the opposition, whilst they're here today, have made certain comments, such as, and even on the media, that the Kopensky Range project, that they have only cleared bush on the site. They have not poured 1 ounce of concrete. The Kopensky Range developers have not submitted any EIA report. Nothing is happening in tourism. Cruise is on the decline. We don't engage our stakeholders. Air access has not improved. There will be minimum employment opportunities through the CBI projects. The NEP program makes no sense and does not assist the private sector. This is a complete failure of the four-way test, and none of these statements that were made that I've mentioned are correct. Many prudent people listening expected the opposition to present alternative budget proposals. To date, they have not presented any such proposal. This is clearly a failure on their part. Maybe next year they'll be better prepared. Mr. Speaker, I want to provide some information on the tourism sector that will also address some of these false informations being given. They are around the theme of awareness of our beautiful island, the marketing of Dominica, access to and from Dominica, experience in Dominica, and investment. There's something called familiarization trips. These trips allows a country to get positive publicity. The entity, which is like the Discover Dominica Authority, invests time and money to bring these journalists to a country and also photographers. We hosted 28 press trips over the last year. This includes persons from the Toronto Star, Island Magazine, the Insider Magazine, the Daily Mirror, the Daily Telegraph, Duke and Dive Magazine, the German Hiking Magazine and Association. There were 7 familiarization trips during the year, including James Keane from In Travel from the UK. This as a result of this In Travel right now, we're selling a 3-day add-on package to the Antigua, essentially a manifestation of twin center option for the UK. This is also known as multi-island tourism. Another farm meaning familiarization trip, was hosted with aquatic sales out of the US, as 9 dive shop operators got the opportunity to experience the destination product and be in a better position to sell Dominica to the other dive destinations. I could go on and on. These visits contributed to numerous stories published across various source markets. In 2015, as a result of our focused, targeted, and pointed interventions, we had over 475 stories written about Dominica's tourism product, which appeared in print, online, and broadcast all throughout the world, including North America, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, the Caribbean. This marked an increase of approximately 250 compared to the previous year. So we are pointed, targeted, and doing what is right to improve the awareness of Dominica. These stories had over 1 billion media impressions. It's with regards to social media, the launch of the Royal Caribbean Music Festival 2016 was broadcast live. As you can well imagine, social media is one of the key things to help you promote your country. This Facebook stream had over 289,000 people looking at it. Social media not only just allows you to promote, but it also allows you to measure the results of it. Our Facebook page currently has 24,000 people, a significant amount of people on there. We have Facebook accounts. We have, we also have a Facebook account in French also, because as we know, Guadeloupe and Martinique are our neighbors who are very close to us, and we're ensuring that we are very targeted again. As you know, we have many beautiful sites, and one of the ways we're going to use social media to promote Dominica again is to ensure that all of our marquee sites, we have free internet access for the visitors. For the visitor to access that, they will have to give us their email address. And we'll also have a nice designed theme where it shows Dominica, which will allow these visitors to take pictures at the site with the word Dominica at the back of them. You can well imagine the publicity that we'll get as a result of that. As you can well imagine, maybe if you've checked the maybe you should check the Prime Minister's page, and you'll see the amount of people who are actually watching this social media feed as we move forward. We're also working with the community tourism persons to upgrade their website. We've also done, again, awareness to our people. We've done 17 lectures at the various schools, which means over 500 students were able to learn about the impact of tourism. They say that cruise is on the decline, but I will give you information that shows otherwise. What we've done is to make sure that we are working with publications where we have this publication called Insider News Magazine, who has a circulation of over 7,500 and a readership of 40,000 people. So we are placing adverts in these type of publications to ensure that we get a lot more publicity. We've recently joined, in terms of membership, we've recently joined CLEAR. CLEAR is the #1 membership for all of the, what we call, all of the travel agents. So you have over, it gives us access to over 500 cruise executives. CLEAR, again, we are now gold members of there, which allows us to access 62 member cruise lines, 275 executive partners, 20,000 travel agents, and over 30,000 travel agent members around the world. As part of our membership, we're able to actually do webinars, at least 6 a year, which will allow us to push and promote and explain Dominica to over 500 persons at a time. We're also making sure that we attend all the critical trade shows. I have said and I've directed the Discover Dominica Authority to work with all the stakeholders to ensure that we have a list of all the critical trade shows that we must attend. We were not attending sufficiently, so from this year we will be attending all the critical ones with the right people and the right amount of information, again, to further promote our country. We all know that filming, on-location filming, is another important way of improving the awareness of the country while creating employment for many, creating excitement for persons who want to visit the island, who want to visit the actual sites. Tito Gorge is one of the major sites right now that persons visit because Pirates of the Caribbean was shot there. The Ministry of Tourism did a lot of work in this area. We facilitated a 4-member crew from Channel 3, in BNN Vara, based in the Netherlands. That was done in April 2016. We did the facilitation of 3-member crew film from Germany in April this year. We also did, we also provide facilities for persons filming sperm whales in April this year from a Canadian company. We also did facilitation of a film request from a company from Brazil. Many times you don't hear about these things, but what is happening in the background, we're doing these things to ensure that Dominica gets a lot more publicity all throughout the world. We're also all aware by now of the facilitation of a film crew which did the American Tarzan, which is currently being run as we talk about. The government provided concessions in the amount of over $60,000 US, but the crew spent over $800,000 in Dominica. As I said before, 87% of people use the internet for their travel planning. So as a result of that, we too have shifted our focus to engage that. We are also using something called analytics, and many of you who go on the internet right now, you will see adverts that pop up on a regular basis. If you start shopping for shoes, if you go to a particular site and look for shoes, all of a sudden you see shoes beginning to pop up. We are now using that technology. So when persons who like the Caribbean, persons who like nature, persons who like diving, those adverts will show up in front of that specific set of people. So we ensure that our marketing is placed in front of those who like what Dominica has to offer, improving our chances of success. We also launched a recent site called Dominica Adventures, dominicaadventures.com. Please take a look at it. It's a beautiful site. It's in English, it's in German, it's in French, to ensure that we tighten up on our awareness and promotions. To date, we've had over 15 million impressions, surpassing our goal. Not only that, too, we can also benchmark it. The benchmark for that type of advertising is something called a click-through rate. The benchmark is 9,000 clicks when you do that type of advertising. Based on our use of the, the analytics, it has allowed us to have double that amount. Later on, I'll explain how that has helped us to move forward. Not only that, too, with this particular site, we are also able, it also has a list of all the hotels who are certified on there. And we have seen that based on that, over 600 people have gone from our site to the actual individual site. And that is where the hotels have to take onus upon themselves. It's upon the hotels at this point to differentiate themselves from the other hotels and have a website that is exciting and shows a true picture of what the property has to offer. We have done so much more, but I don't want to bore you to death. In terms of our marketing reps, marketing representatives who come to a country have a wealth of knowledge. Dominica's had a few marketing reps, but again, as a prudent manager, I was not satisfied with the results from these marketing reps. As a result, I asked the Discover Dominica Authority to review all of this and to let us look for new reps who can properly and better represent Dominica, our country. Because what we want is the best possible results for our hoteliers. If our hoteliers don't make as much money as possible, they're going to have issues. So we care about it. Right now, you have 6 reps who are in Dominica as you speak, engaging with the hoteliers. We had a rep farm forum, which started on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I met with them and I told them the vision of what we want, and they truly understand what we want. So we have new reps for the United States. We have new reps. We have a rep for Canada for the first time. We have the same rep for United Kingdom because they were doing a good job. We have a new rep for France. The French West Indies are right next to us. We had no reps. We now have reps for Guadeloupe and Martinique, again to improve on the results of our people in Dominica. We also have new reps for Germany. We're also going to rebrand because the way Dominica was looking, it make it better. Obviously, in every year, it's just like some people I know. They had a business. They're going to a new building to make it look prettier and better. But that's life. We can always do things better. So even as we speak right now, the reps, after meeting with the stakeholders for the last couple of days, today they're going out for the entire country so that they better understand what Dominica is and what we have to offer. As we all know, again, destination marketing is very important, which we've been talking about. Mr. Speaker, we all know that adequate funds are required. And one of the things that we have is that the Tourism Master Plan. And the Tourism Master Plan gives us an indication as to what we're supposed to be spending. In 2014-2015, the budget was $4 million. In 2015-2016, the budget was increased to $6 million. And as we know, for this budget, it has been increased to $8.5 million. And there's great significance with the $8.5 million. The $8.5 million ties us in with the projections as to what you need to get a particular amount of persons coming in. So the master plan basically says that if you have a marketing budget of at least $8.5 million, and you're using it properly, you should get pretty good returns on the persons coming to Dominica. But in addition to that, we are mindful, and we have to make sure that every single dollar that we have, it is spent properly. We can't just throw out a net. It has to be done properly. It has to be managed properly. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you also that Discover Dominica Authority did not have a marketing manager for some time, and we've actually gone through the process to advertise for a marketing manager. We didn't just advertise in Dominica and the Caribbean, we advertised throughout the world. We actually got 96 applicants. We've been able to bring that down to 20, and right now we have 3, and we're going through the final processes, and I hope that within the next 30 days, we'll have a new destination marketing manager, again, to make sure that we are spending the money wisely and getting the best return for investment. I want to thank the Prime Minister and the Cabinet members for their support in this important sector. Obviously, if we're not able to convince them, we don't get the support. So I really want to thank them for giving us the support that we required. And I know the Prime Minister made a joke, and he said that if we had asked for more money, we would have gotten it. But I want to say to the Prime Minister, we care about Dominica. We're not going to waste money. So once we have everything in place, we will be asking for additional amounts. It is unfortunate that some statements out of ignorance. Okay. With regards to access, you hear many persons say things are not getting better. But the Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal, cognizant of access, we know that's one of the key things to get persons to Dominica. So you have all that awareness. You have these amazing adverts from a marketing standpoint that excites an individual, and they say, yes, I want to come to Dominica. Obviously, the next step is to get them to Dominica. We are cognizant of that, and we are working feverishly to make it better. To the point that we actually held the first ever Caribbean Aviation meetup hosted in Dominica in June 2016. During this 3-day event, we had over 60 persons attending, representing airports, airlines, tourism, and other aviation and access impacted sectors. We had meetings to try to find solutions to decide how to move that forward. It was also a very strategic way. Instead of having to pay someone, a consultant, thousands and thousands of dollars, it allowed us to actually get that information free. Route development, airport management, and challenges of regional aviation were among the salient topics presented during the conference. One critical observation and recommendations coming out of these discussions were better direct potential visitors to Dominica, the use of our close international airports as a hub, working with existing airlines to provide increased and effective access to Dominica. And there was also even the idea of trying to create a virtual airline that would allow Dominica to use those existing international airports and have almost have like a taxi shuttle service towards those. So all of these things, we are cognizant of this fact. We also have an air access committee, a specific committee that looks into air access to ensure that we are doing all in our power to get as many people to Dominica as possible. Yachting, again, is another way that visitors can visit our shores. And yachties are also a very good sector because they spend a lot more money in Dominica or in any particular country. They also stay for a much longer period of time. And they spend more money because, again, they spend more time, they do more tours, they need more services such as repairs, food, water, and many other things. We are consistently working to improve the yachting sector. Last year, we supported the PAYS group in Portsmouth to ensure that we could have more moorings so that when the yachties come to Dominica, they can actually go there. In this year's budget, out of the $2.2 million that the Prime Minister spoke about, $200,000 will go towards this particular project to increase the number of moorings in Portsmouth, in Scotshead, and also in Soufriere. But specifically in Soufriere and Scotshead, it has to be done within the zoning areas that were identified for that. Because obviously, we can't go throwing down, have persons throwing anchors or putting the moorings in areas that could damage coral. So it will be in the zoned areas. We also support PAYS out of Portsmouth because when you have visitors coming to Dominica, you want to ensure that they're safe and secure. So the Ministry of Tourism has provided a jetty, a 96-foot jetty. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be 100 feet, so we have 6 more feet to add to that jetty. We've provided them with a vessel to ensure that they can move back and forth and make sure the area is safe. In terms of crews, we're all aware of the Brewer report. And the Brewer report basically highlighted many areas that we were weak on. We've had many consultations with all the stakeholders, because obviously what needs to be done cannot be agreed upon in one day or 1 week. And we all know that the people on the ground are normally the ones with the best possible answers. So we've done a lot of work, and coming out of that, we have a suite of interventions that will allow us to do a lot better. Take, for example, in terms of friendliness, Dominica is maybe ranked 28 out of 34. But we all know that Dominicans are the most friendly people in Dominica. But what happens when the visitor comes off the cruise ship, he sees persons quarreling, and that makes them upset. We have one great score. Our organized tours, we are ranked 8 out of 34. Why? Because you have the tour guides on there who do an excellent job and shuttle people through, give them great potential service. So if we can ensure that all our tours have tour guides on board, we can automatically increase our scores. We have done consultations with the Taxi Association, and we know that we need at least 100 new tour guides. And we've actually put out the adverts asking for new tour guides to ensure that we can provide the service that we have to do. So that's again 100 new jobs that can be, that will be created as a result of that. Since the passing of the storm, the Ministry of Tourism, we've also been in constant dialogue, not only with the stakeholders here, but the stakeholders abroad. And we've been speaking with all the cruise executives, including those of the Florida Cruise Association. And based on the things that we've been doing over the last couple of years, based on what they know that we're going to put in place, they are very excited about those things. But the important thing is that we as a community, we as a people, we must work together to get that done. Some persons will be impacted negatively, but we cannot allow 2 persons to determine the fate of the entire country. So based on the last year, we had about 276,000 persons coming to Dominica, which was about 4% less than what we had prior. We also know that, again, I like numbers, so we looked at the numbers, and the numbers show that we had 4 vessels with over 25,000 people, which is more than the shortfall who were not able to come to Dominica as a result of weather conditions. We've also initiated a cruise policy. So we're in the final stages of hiring that cruise consultant who will come together and work with us to make sure that the way forward for cruise is going to be in the best interest of the country. So as I said, last year we had about 276,000 people. This year, for the season that is planned, we have 319,000 people expected. So it is incorrect to say that cruise is dying. Cruise is moving forward. Maybe it could go faster, but we're looking at least between a 10 to 15% increase in our numbers. Madam Speaker, with regards to air access, again, we said air access is crucial to Dominica. Prior to Tropical Storm Erica, access was as follows. We had 76 flights providing 6,031 seats. That includes the ferry. Post Erica, as of March 2016, we had 46 flights and 4,654 seats. You can well imagine the reduction, and that obviously has impacted on the amount of persons who could come to Dominica. Even up to May 2016, it had not gotten back to where we wanted it to be. It was 52 flights or 5,415 seats. And that was when we said, you know, something is enough. Liat, you have to do better. We spoke with Liat, and we sat down with them and said, hey, you are directly impacting on access to Dominica. But that was not the only company. We were speaking to all, we speak with as many persons as possible to ensure that we can improve on access to Dominica. So, Madam Speaker, I can say as of June 2016, we have 89 flights and 7,275 seats into Dominica. That is an increase of 17% and 20% respectively. So, Madam Speaker, we are concerned about Dominica. We are concerned about the tourism industry, and we are working diligently to improve on the number of persons coming to Dominica. I want to personally thank the members of the Air Access Committee for doing a great job. But I will not stop there. I will continue to push them. We know that very soon the BVI will have flights coming in from Florida straight to the BVI. If you actually do a line from Florida to the Air Access Committee and giving them the mandate to speak to Air BVI to see how we can get flights from Florida to the BVI to Dominica. We're also speaking with many other airlines to make sure we can make these things a reality. When these people come to Dominica, obviously the experience is something that has to be above board. So therefore, training continues to be a focus area which affords the opportunity for sectors to maintain and improve on their standards. We cannot have persons come to Dominica and they don't feel welcome. We cannot have persons come to Dominica and they don't feel and they don't receive the service that they ought to get. In 2015, we actually trained over 205 persons. This is truly not the mandate of the Discover Dominica Authority or the Ministry of Tourism, but we have to do as much as possible to ensure that when persons come to Dominica, they get the best possible service. So we also implore on the hotels for they too to do some of the training. We train craft artisans, we train vendors, we train tour guides, custom officers, customs immigration, because these are some of the first persons who meet and greet the customer coming to us. DASPA immigration officers, community tourism persons, housekeepers at hotels, forestry park wardens and stuff. Even the hotel front desk. What we ask of those persons who have been trained is to put into practice what you have learned. And we're asking the employers of those persons to continue the training, because we know that you train persons today, and within a couple of months they will deviate slightly. So you have to make sure training is consistent. For the year so far, we've actually trained, that was last year, but the year so far, we've actually trained another 110 individuals, again, to try to ensure that we get the best possible service to our persons coming to Dominica. We did more housekeeping. Even in terms of community tourism training, we continue to do more. And based on our budget, we've actually allocated an additional $90,000. $90,000, so that all the community tourism groups will have proper training for their people. Because unless the persons in the community feel that they're part and parcel of the tourism product, they will not necessarily care about it the way we expect them to care about it. In 2015, we had a few capital projects, which included OPAC, which is complete. We had the Rosa enhancement, the first phase, which was the designs for the bridge and the wall. Again, that is complete. And we hope to move to the second phase of the Rosa enhancement project, where there'll be the final plans for the upgrades of the streets, gutters, sidewalks, and the overhead lines. And as you can see, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism truly cares, and we'll continue to push the agenda to ensure that we can see these things happen in the very near future. So we continue to work with all the stakeholders to improve the appeal of our destination and the experience of our destination. We're also looking at new sites to improve on, so that when persons come to Dominica, it's not the same thing that they've seen over and over again. I went to a fall called the Boane Falls. I never even knew those falls existed. And it was a beautiful hike, you know. And when you got there, when you thought the waterfall was it, then you look up, you realize it's a humongous rock overhead. So we have lots that is in, what's that? That is in the Vacaz area, actually. Okay. No, but what I would like to say is that, and I see Senator Basil has gone. What I would say is that there is a tourism group in Marigot, and they have worked with us to get certain things done. And even right now, and even Right Senator Basil, sorry. And if, excuse me, the member, the panel rep for the Wesley constituency. So what I would suggest is that he works through his community tourism group and ensure that they have plans. Just saying something is not sufficient. If you bring us plans, we can definitely work with them. As the Prime Minister said, over $2.2 million has been approved, and just for some persons to know, it includes Bellevue, Chopin, Capuchin, Cole Soufriere, Tuna, aka Concord, the Emerald Pool, Girardel and Egliston, Grand Bay, the Kalinago Territory, Loda, Layou, Marigot, Mero, Montbruce, Point Michel, Portsmouth, Pottersville, Roseau, Salisbury, Scottshead, Soufriere, Syndicate, Thibault, Tito Gorge, Trafalgar Falls, Wharton Waven. As you can see, there are a lot of interventions that we have to do, but I am positive that the team at the Ministry of Tourism will work assiduously to ensure that as many of these, if not all, are done within a very short period of time, so we can already begin to plan for the next year ahead. In terms of Roseau, the responsibility of keeping Roseau clean is that of the Roseau City Council. The collection of garbage is the responsibility of solid waste. But we've seen even from the Breer report that we have shortcomings and we have to do more. So we have actually partnered with those two organizations to ensure that Roseau is a lot cleaner. Because as you know, many times when persons come off the ship or persons are here on a long stay vacation, this is the place that they come to, and we have to ensure that our city is clean. So I want to thank all those organizations who have helped us, the Ministry of Public Works, the Fire Department for allowing us to use their hoses to wash down the city on a regular basis, Petro Caribe, the police officers for their signs, Dominica and Seaport, and even Petro Caribe for their lighting towers, the Roseau City Council, the Roseau Windsor Park Stadium, because that is actually the base area for this. This project has provided employment for many persons around Roseau and environs. This financial year, we will continue to provide assistance as cleanliness of the city is very important. But, Madam Speaker, how can the representative of Roseau stand up in Parliament and say that the city needs to be cleaned? What is he saying about the team who cleans the city every day? They wake up at 4 p.m., he will hear eventually. They wake up at 4 p.m. every day and go to the stadium at 5 a.m. 4 a.m. and they go to the stadium at 5 a.m. and they work until 9 a.m. Monday to Saturday. The team of dedicated workers descend on the city with the sole purpose of cleaning, removing garbage, and clearing grass. Additionally, the team clears all garbage bins of garbage and replaces the garbage bags. The team, we have a specific team that takes all the garbage bags and takes them out of the city, just to ensure that the city looks as clean as possible. But unfortunately, the same team has to go back to Roseau again from 2:30 to 4:30, another 2 hours, because persons are still indiscriminately dropping litter all through the city. Okay? I ask, Madam Speaker, through you, I ask the Honorable Joseph Isaac, how is he going to look at those workers in their eyes tomorrow afternoon when they're doing a very good job? Granted they can do a bit better, but many of us who have seen Roseau and have seen the streets can see that the cleanliness of Roseau has improved. He's clearly not walking the streets of Roseau. If he was doing so over the last 20 months, he would have called me at least and said, hey, I see a hole here, I see garbage over there. Instead, I get calls from many other persons from Dominica and Roseau and many Facebook messages informing me of where they see holes, where they see grass, and where they see improvements that need to be done. I want to thank them. I want to thank them for caring about Roseau. Keeping our nature island clean is key to sustainable tourism. Garbage, again, to the persons listening to me, garbage has no hands. Garbage has no feet. Therefore, we are the ones who generate and dispose of it. Let our management and disposal methods be in keeping of best practices. In terms of vagrancy, we are still very much concerned about vagrancy from a tourism standpoint, but I'm more concerned about vagrancy from the standpoint of our people. The vagrants are the same ones who trouble me, our wives, and our children. Nobody wants that. But this is not the responsibility of the government alone. All of these persons out there have families. They have mothers, brothers, fathers, sisters, and so on. So it has to be a joint responsibility to take care of our people. The Honorable Minister will expound more on it, but I'm positive to say that the first phase of this vagrancy program has been approved in Cabinet, and we look forward to that program starting very soon. But we cannot do it by ourselves. We need the help of everyone. And again, as I said, it's not our responsibility. But just yesterday, I saw one of the guys by the name of William. He had sustained serious injuries to his face. There was still a little bit of blood coming down. But today, that was today, the day before, and even other days, up to now, I have not seen one single Facebook post denouncing that injury and assault to him. The conditions of our roads obviously will always be a concern, and I'm certain, as stated by the Honorable Prime Minister and through the Minister of Works, that much will be done with our roads, especially the Layo Valley and the Roseau Valley, which very much impact on our tourism. I want to thank those persons out there who send me images of interventions that need to be done on a regular basis. I do appreciate the fact that you care about Dominica. In terms of product development, we are concerned about developing our products, and we have worked with artisans to train them on a regular basis. We've worked with our vendors, as I said before. As I said, we need 100 new tour guides. So even those of you in the opposition and persons in your community, advise them that there is the opportunity for tour guide jobs. So please send them to the Discover Authority to ensure that we have those persons in place before the cruise season. We've also trained what we call master trainers under the CVQ program to ensure that any training program that we need to put in place, they will be able to deliver those training programs. In terms of community tourism, we are still again committed to supporting community tourism. As I said, community tourism is very important. When you have persons in the community who care about what is going on, they will do their best. So again, Mr. Basil, please work with your community tourism group, and they will help you prepare that plan, and we'll be more than happy to support it, which is the same thing we have done for the Marigot constituency with regards to upgrading Sandy Beach. It's one of the very beautiful beaches in that area. So in terms of support, you're going to have $90,000 for capacity building for the various groups. We're allotting $43,000 to the design and production of brochures to promote community tourism in the respective areas. And we're also providing $140,000 a subvention to the Dominica Community Tourism Association to ensure that they can move tourism in those areas in a proper way. This will also contribute to the employment and creation of jobs and to remove individuals and groups who would not be so otherwise. Quality assurance is key for us. We have to ensure that when persons come to Dominica, that all of our organizations meet the international standards so that they provide the best possible service. So we've had many meetings with the various stakeholders for the committees, and we're hoping to put things in place very shortly, including standards for tour guides and tour operators. As I said, certification is a major issue, and unfortunately, with regards to the hotel sector, in the accommodation sector, out of 82 registered properties, only 30 of them are certified. And again, that goes to show that the government of Dominica is cognizant of the fact that we need to improve on our, not just on the room stock in terms of the number of rooms, but we also have to improve on the quality of our rooms. And that is why, together with the Dominica Hotel Association, a survey was done to ask the hotels, guys, what do you need in order for you to improve on your product? As we, as the Ministry of Tourism, is working and improving on our marketing and our awareness and access. So as you can see, it is not as a Viking, it is not as a, I won't be able to explain what Viking is, but it's not an ad hoc, we're not adopting an ad hoc approach. As you can see, they're all interrelated to ensure we get the best possible results. So the Hotel Association, through their members, said, guys, in order to help us upgrade, we need, some of us, we just need new sheets. we need new beds, we need new cutlery to ensure that we are up to par. We need new curtains, we need new linen, we need we need to upgrade certain areas. Some of us, because of what's going on, we also want to improve on our room stock to increase the money that we make. So the government of Dominica agreed to provide initially a $15 million loan facility at the 8th Bank at a concessionary rate of 3%. I don't think you can get a rate any lower than that, inclusive of a grace period of 1 year. We also engaged the hoteliers even prior to ensure that they would be ready to embrace that facility as soon as it was made available. We did our best to speak to all possible hotels, including the large ones and also the small ones. The Prime Minister also, in his wisdom, extended that facility to the restaurant, because the restaurants also provide great services. So we are really looking forward to persons embracing this opportunity and using it to the best of their ability, knowing that the Ministry of Tourism is pushing forward in terms of the awareness, the marketing of the country, and also the access. In terms of the National Employment Program, it remains supported by the Ministry of Tourism. And they have assisted us greatly in terms of persons for the various centers, and also inclusive of security. Security is very critical at some of the beaches, Number 1 Beach, Batibu, and Point Baptist. This intervention has significantly reduced crime in those areas. For the year so far, we've had over 16 NEP employees who assist us on the beaches and at the various sites. Again, this underscores the importance of the Citizen by Investment Program. This is the program which underwrites the NEP program. Someone also said that the NEP program does not incentivize or help the private sector. Again, that is incorrect. This program allows a forward-thinking private sector individual to expand on his business, to do additional services, or even get persons from the NEP group that they could not necessarily afford or who needed a particular expertise. Currently, there are over 140 employees assigned to various companies across Dominica, with an average salary of $1,800. That equates to a monthly contribution by the government of Dominica of $252,000. If you multiply by 12, you get well over $3 million. This is a direct injection. Hold on a second. This is a direct injection, as I said, which allows a prudent company to expand on their business by hiring the right set of people. So if you did not take advantage of that and you have to downsize your business, that is up to you. As we know, in terms of, we continue to have different events, and the purpose of those events is to bring more people to the country. We recently had the Jazz and Creole Festival in the Cabrits, and over the past years, we've been able to significantly increase the number of people coming to that event. Last year, we had 1,461,000 people, 1,461, and this year we had 2,300 people, a growth of over 36%. Another important factor is that we do our best right now to ensure that the monies of the state are properly used. In previous year, there were significant losses in excess of $100,000. Last year, the loss was about $5,000. So we are constantly making sure that the monies of the government are properly used to work with the company. As we know, last year we did not have the World Creole Music Festival. And this year we have to do it bigger and better. And I did my best to speak to the various committees to say, guys, what do we need to make this event bigger and better? What do we need to make sure that when we have this event, more people come to Dominica? They said, Mr. Minister, we need $1 million extra. So the current subvention for the World Creole Music Festival is $780,000. Based on the information that we had, I was able, through the cabinet, to get an additional amount of $1 million. Give me a chance, I will tell you. So, in order to make the event bigger and better, obviously you need better artists. You need a better sound system. You need a better environment and ambience. You also need, listen to me please, you also need more funds to market it properly. And as you can see, we have already We have launched the program in Dominica. We've also launched World Creole Music Festival already in Guadeloupe. We've also launched World Creole Music Festival in Martinique. So we are being very pointed. No, we're doing it better this time. And as you would have seen from the launch that we have, we've gotten way, way better. Job creation. Job creation is critical to reduce unemployment. And as I said before, we're asking to possibly employ through the dispatch system on the Bayfront, for over 100 tourism guides. The Citizen by Investment program also allows us to attract branded hotels to our shores. These branded hotels will improve the awareness of the country and also increase job creation. And as we've seen through the Citizen by Investment program, $15 million will go towards the local tourism sector to improve on what they have. We know that we have Petit Colibri in Soufrière, which is expected to have 56 full-time staff. We have Bois Côtelet in Soufrière, which is expected to hire 90 staff. We have Jungle Bay, which unfortunately was severely impacted and unable to open as a result of the storm. When they open in due course, we'll hire over 100 staff. We have Silver Beach in Picard. When they open, we'll hire over 200 staff. We have Tranquility Beach in Salisbury, which is expected to hire over 200 staff. And we also have Range, which is expected to hire over 320 staff when they open. But obviously, all of these things take time. Nothing has happened over there. Nothing happens overnight. And that is equivalent to over 900 jobs that will be created once all of these establishments are open. Madam Speaker, from my knowledge, the Range will open, the Range developers, is almost in the final stages of completing the project in St. Kitts. We are all aware, or let me just educate you, during the pre-construction phase of this development in Dominica, in the Picard area, over 50 persons are expected to be employed. During the construction phase, over 600 persons are expected to be employed. I just spoke with one of the persons right there in St. Kitts, and even right now as we speak, as they try to finalize it, there's over 580 persons employed in St. Kitts in the construction area right now as we speak. So this is not a pie in the sky. This will happen. Post-construction, there will be jobs, so as I said, for over 320 persons, including front of house, management, back of house, laundry, kitchen, service, housekeeping, sales, and marketing. As we can see, Range is not a company. Okay, Range right now has a track record, so you cannot say that they don't have a track record. Okay, for which one? For Dominica, it's supposed to be 30 months. But in addition to the direct jobs, there's going to be many indirect jobs, such as trucking services, heavy equipment services, utility services, agriculture. You're going to have persons who need to provide fruits, vegetables, fish, meat, produce for the restaurants and so forth. So again, this is also a great opportunity for persons to see these opportunities and begin to work with the Minister of Commerce and see how they can come up with small business plans to allow that to be funded to directly provide services to those hotels, which will be here very soon. And as I said, some will have you believe that this is going to be another white elephant, but we are working with a company for track record. The Range developer signed the contract in St. Kitts in December 2013. As I said, right now as we speak, there are 580 people on the job. The handover to Hyatt is expected to be December 2016, and right now Hyatt has actually opened their online booking portal, accepting bookings from the 1st of March. So, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Tourism truly cares and are dedicated.
You have 5 minutes left.
Thank you. Can I get 10 more minutes, please?
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honorable Senator, Minister for Tourism, begin additional 10 minutes to complete his presentation.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the minister be given a further 10 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. You may continue.
So, Madam Speaker, for the period January to March 2016, it still shows a decline, but again, I've explained why we have some of those declines. We did not get back to our proper numbers for air access until June 2016. But as you would have heard from all of the things that we're doing, all of the things that we have done, that has helped to soften or cushion the potential loss that we could have had. The Ministry of Tourism will not stop there. We will continue working efficiently and effectively to ensure that the tourism sector grows as we expected. And even without that, even if those negatives, of the 4% drop for 2016 between January to March, we've still seen, again, because of our pointed marketing, we've seen the number of persons in the French countries beginning to grow. We're also going to be working on the ferry. It is obviously not under our portfolio, but we have very good relationships with all the respective ministries to ensure that wherever there are challenges, we work with them to improve on that. So we'll continue to improve on access through to the ferry so that we can target more customers coming to Dominica. Madam Speaker, a strong foundation has been set for the growth of tourism. On a regular basis, we review and discuss the challenges facing the industry. We actively consult with the private sector and listen to their advice and ideas. We are implementing the solution to the challenges identified. We monitor the results and make changes required in a timely manner. We are ensuring that we have the right human resource to ensure these are done. We are making sure that our staff are engaged and are truly understanding of what their roles are. We are working as a team with our new market reps to make sure that the results we expect will be done. I've actually said to them at point blank, we expect certain results and there are going to be certain benchmarks. If you do not meet the benchmarks, we will change you. The people, I'm talking about the market reps in USA, Toronto, France. Our stakeholders need better results, and we are committed to improving on them day in, day out. So, Madam Speaker, I thank you for allowing me to stand up today. And again, as I said, I fully support this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm going to seek your permission to refer to my notes substantially for my presentation. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to extend continued solidarity with our colleague, Honorable Hector John, and family at this difficult time. I'd like to tell him that in time, God will heal his heart and his home. Now, Madam Speaker, I am pleased to hear...
One moment.
Yes.
I heard a telephone go off. You know what happens in the courts? They take your phone from you and they tell you that you have to give the value of the phone to charity before you get it back. I think that's such a good idea. I'm hoping to adopt it soon enough. Continue.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Who had the phone? No admission?
What I've noticed, Madam Speaker, when these two mics are on, yours and this, there's a hum.
Yes, we know about that
maybe
hum.
Maybe that's what you hear.
But we're not speaking about hum now. We're speaking about a telephone that went off. Okay?
But, Madam Speaker, I appreciate the new atmosphere in the House. I'd like to welcome that atmosphere. So, yes, Madam Speaker.
Shall we keep it that way?
Yes.
And you will try to keep it that way?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Is that a promise?
That's a promise.
Good. Okay.
So, Madam Speaker, as I was saying, I'm pleased to hear that after years of begging for the rehabilitation of the Charles Avenue Road to the hospital, that it's getting some consideration in the budget. I think, the severe undermining of that road you know, there's no doubt that it's an important project, and I hope in the design of that project that the road will be widened, the drainage will be taken care of, and also the pavement will be covered. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I would like to join my colleague in congratulating Minister Catherine Daniel for her comprehensive report of her portfolio. But I want to call for a demotion of the Minister of Trade, Energy and Employment for not reporting on his portfolio. All he did was to do a little cheerleading of the Prime Minister, and nothing was mentioned about the coffee plant in 1 Mile, nothing was mentioned of the Moroccan hotel, and nothing was mentioned of the 2 vessels that were promised for about 10 years. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Agriculture was extremely entertaining, and I noticed his permanent secretary was laughing throughout his presentation. However, I noticed that the minister failed to report on the amount of fertilizer received under the BAM.
1 second. I just want people from the gallery to know when you take your seat, you don't be moving all about, eh? You sit one place and remain there. Okay? It's very distracting. Okay?
I'm taking from my time also.
Yeah, 3 seconds.
Also, Madam Speaker, he failed to report on the amount of spray oil received. The minister failed to report on the number of acres under bananas and the expected production. He failed to report on the tonnage exported to the region and to the UK, which is 0 to the UK. He failed to report on the meeting with the CEO of Windfresh. I expected that I would have gotten some good news from that meeting. However, in his emotion of delivering his report, he failed to report on those, but he still have a second chance. Madam Speaker, also listening to the Minister of Kalinago Affairs, he said he couldn't find reason why he should join the match this afternoon, but I will give him a few reasons why he should join the 1,000 Patriots match. You are welcome, Minister, to join the 1,000 Patriot match because of the funds diverted as indicated in the Panama Papers and in the UK shell companies. So that's one reason you should join the match. You are welcome to match for jobs for the 50% of unemployed youth. You are welcome to join the match against corruption and nepotism. You are welcome to join the march for the revitalization of agriculture and the banana sector. You are welcome to join the march, Minister for Trade, for the opening of the coffee plant and the Moroccan hotel. These are good reasons to join the march. And for the Minister of Health, you are welcome to join the march and tell the young people who will be standing next to you that they can get a job at the construction of the new National Hospital. So these are good reasons to join the march. So, Madam Speaker, as I consider the contents of this 2016-2017 budget, it is self-evident that this Labour Party regime is bent on punishing constituencies which did not vote Labour. And I will give you examples. On the project head P1404, the Ministry of Trade, Energy and Employment, $4 million was budgeted for the purchase of a vessel since 2013-2014 budget cycle, a pre-election gimmick. 4 years later, no allocation is seen in the 2016-2017 budget. Now, when this regime came into office, Madam Speaker, particularly on the Prime Minister's carriage watch, geothermal was presented as the salvation of the nation. A geothermal plant was promised in 2015 after several earlier changes of a completion date. $50 million later, well-placed lawyers and flamboyant imported bankers are smiling all the way to their multi-million-dollar bank accounts with not even a 5 megawatts plant. A testimony to a failed geothermal strategy and a failure to effectively manage a resource with great potential and possibilities. Now, Madam Speaker, on the project head P1150, the mismanagement of Black Sigatoka, Mr. Minister of Agriculture, was clear for the world to see, with hundreds of gallons of spray oil sitting in tanks while farmers cry out for long overdue spray cycles. There was a big show about tissue culture plants, yet when bunches were ready for harvest, there were no arrangements made with Winfresh for the marketing and resulting in the protests we saw in Melville Hall. Now, think of it, Madam Speaker. For more than 60 years, we have exported fruit to the UK market. Yet in 16 years of hard labor, we've lost the UK market. Not one box sold to the UK market. That meant back then, hundreds of millions of dollars was coming back to the economy, filtering to all the various constituencies. Today, not $1 is earned. Now, think about it, you know. We can use the excuse of Black Sigatoka. However, St. Lucia had a similar problem. They conquered the problem, and now they are the highest production. So management is everything. Some people say leadership. I say management. Because you can have the resources and make a mess of it. Now, Madam Speaker, a $109 million national hospital on the project head C1511 is promised for a site not recommended by the disaster preparedness officials. No EIA was done. No evaluation of impact on the lives and health of patients at the PMH. There are threats of noise pollution, dust contamination, and overcrowding added to the existing unsanitary conditions at the PMH. With Marigot Hospital closed and the Portsmouth Hospital slated for refurbishing at the same time of the construction of the National Hospital, this speaks to an upside-down planning and mass confusion in our health system. And sadly, Madam Speaker, this is managed by a medical doctor. A medical doctor, where is he? He's disappeared. A lot of time we hear about state-of-the-art this and state-of-the-art that, state-of-the-art college. What we need is state-of-the-art services. State-of-the-art services are what I'm interested in. And as I said earlier on, state-of-the-art management. Madam Speaker, at the beginning of my presentation, I said that Rosenoff is being punished for voting UWP. And here is my proof. On the project head C1523, an indoor sporting facility was promised in Stock Farm. Yet for the next 3 budget cycles, taking us into 2019, not a cent is budgeted for that facility. Yet Minister of Constituency Empowerment hands over a check of $672,000 to Massac, hands over a check of $600,000 to Geneva, hands over a check of $200,000 to Collier constituencies, while blocking the Lindo Park project for 2 years until yours truly had to resign. However, I want to encourage the new committee of the Lindo Park Improvement Committee to do their best to execute that project for the lighting, fencing, and joggers track at Lindo Park. And at this time, I would like to thank the New Zealand High Commission and the Australian High Commission for being patient with Dominica. It's now the 2nd anniversary of that project. But now that the big stone is out of the way, I wish the new committee well. Now, Madam Speaker, there is also the West Bridge project, C1654, of which Senator Blanchard is responsible, $17.1 million. My advice to Public Works and Ports Minister, that is if you want to be MP for Rosonoff, create employment for the hundreds of unemployed young Dominicans, not for Bajans, not for Chinese, but for the youth of Rosonoff. Dominicans first in this nature isle. Then you will have a chance after I retire to be parliament. As Minister of Works, it cannot be that you are not seeing the neglect of the entire road network of Rosenhof. So I'd like to impress on you to really seek out and to do some work for Rosenhof, the road network. Madam Speaker, Rosenhof is the largest constituency of registered voters, 7,382 electors, of which 3,890 voted in the last election and voted 2,266 votes for yours truly. That's the largest in all constituencies. Rosenhof is the home to more than 24 large business enterprises, employing hundreds who pay taxes and VAT. Yet Rosenhof is being sidelined and punished by this administration. So neglected is Rosenhof. There's a project named Goodwill Roads. Check it out in the budget, which does not have a project ID code, so that an amount of $1.9 million in 2017-28 is just placed there with the intention to deceive. Madam Speaker, since 2012-2013 national budget, the people of Stock Farm were promised a $4.4 million road to the State College under project head C-1528. 4 years later, it's not done, and the project sum is slashed by half to $2 million in 2016, and you have your chance to answer. That is why we will take to the streets in the 1,000 Patriots March until we are respected and get our fair share of the national purse, until public works employees are put to work, until local contractors are allowed to tender for all major projects, until Dominicans are first in their own land, until the youth of Rosenhof can earn a living, until all of Dominica's youth can survive in their homeland. Madam Speaker, I heard Prime Minister Skerrit on a talk show with Sogo Fly, Bottom Brain and Ghost, ridiculing DAPEX, a farmers' company in need of help and on the brink of shutting down. When Crazy Coconuts was in trouble, you came to the rescue.
Just a moment, please.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
The names that you called there.
Yes.
Okay, you know you're not supposed to call names.
Okay.
And there are certain names that you just called. Even if they're their name, it's not suitable, it's not parliamentary enough.
Okay, I withdraw the names, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And
But when Crazy Coconuts was in
wait a
trouble,
minute, I'm not done
that's,
yet.
that's an institution, not somebody's name. Crazy Coconuts is an
excuse
establishment.
me.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
I am talking to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm saying to you, be careful what you say
Yes,
about
yes.
institutions, business places, and all
No,
of
that was something that was in a former budget, so I'm not going to add anything. I'm just saying when the institution was in trouble, government came to the rescue. So that's all I'm saying on that. Okay?
I think that's
Yes, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
Then you had the cathedral needed $1 million, and we supported it. You know, we supported it. Today, everything is being done to shut down DAPEX, including a hostile takeover by government operatives. And I have letters here to prove it. Fair Trade receives assistance from government. Yet the farmers' company is viewed as enemy number one. I will give it to you after. Madam Speaker, we've seen export of bananas to Europe. That came to a halt under this administration. We see coconut products shut down under this administration watch. We see the Moroccan hotel is shut down under your nose. We see trade exports at a standstill under your watch, and nepotism and corruption on a high. Finally, Madam Speaker, I've noted with interest that at the beginning of every sitting of this House, a prayer is recited, which among other things calls for matters to be dealt with, and I quote, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory. That's God's glory, right? I am saying that I will not participate in this vain repetition and recitation until I see visible and tangible respect from members of the opposition. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man or woman soever, that he will also reap. I invite patriots to the 1,000-man march today at 4:30 at the Linda Park. And before I close, Madam Speaker, lest we forget, I'm calling on Dominica's Attorney General, not Labour Party Attorney General, to launch an investigation into the Dominican companies and individuals named in the Panama Papers, including some of my dead constituents named as directors, names placed there by high-profile lawyers. Secondly, I call on Dominica's Attorney General to launch an investigation into the shell companies named in the UK Inland Revenue Department, where hundreds of millions of dollars is hidden, proceeds allegedly from the sale of Dominican passports. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to make my contribution and to give my full support to the 2016-2017 budget as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister, Madam Speaker. I want to also, in opening, Madam Speaker, thank the Honorable Prime Minister for a very remarkable address in which I think he very articulately detailed the provisions, the programs, and the policies that will be rolled out in this financial year, Madam Speaker. And he did it in a very clear way that I believe even a common man can understand. And in so doing, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister sent a clear message to Dominicans at home, in the diaspora, to our counterparts in the region, and to the world, that Dominica is moving steadfastly on the path to sustainable development, Madam Speaker. And I'm proud to support our Prime Minister on this path. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the challenges posed by Tropical Storm Erica, the 2016-2017 budget speaks to the focus, the Herculean efforts, and the resolve of the DLP administration to ensure that we relentlessly pursue a prosperous, a peaceful, and a just Dominica for us all, Madam Speaker. As a small island developing state, Dominica has an open economy, and as such, we are very susceptible to external shocks, Madam Speaker. Moreover, we are acutely vulnerable to global challenges such as climate change, ocean acidification, and ozone depletion. It's for these and many other reasons, Madam Speaker, that I believe this year's theme, or the theme rather of this year's budget, rebuilding a more resilient Dominica, is not only timely, Madam Speaker, but its meaning is in fact very deeply profound. Resilience, Madam Speaker, in the context of this budget is defined as a model of development in which all of the social, economic, and environmental systems function efficiently, and in which they are able to bounce back in the face of natural disasters and external shocks. Sustainable development, Madam Speaker, as defined in the Brundtland Report, is defined as development which meets the needs of present generations without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. When we consider the economic provisions, that is provisions for economic growth, the social provisions, the strengthening of our social safety net, and the environmental protection measures within this budget, Madam Speaker, we can be proud that this Dominica Labour Party administration truly understands what it means to translate sustainable development into effective policy and programs, Madam Speaker. For this Dominica Labour Party, sustainable development is not just a buzzword, as you'll often hear used on the opposition side, Madam Speaker. We understand that this is a development model which we as a small island developing state must relentlessly pursue. And I want to commend the Honourable Prime Minister and his cabinet for their outstanding work in presenting to this country a budget that will cater for the needs of every Dominican. I want to also endorse the comments by the Honourable Minister of Information, Kelvadaro, who stressed on the point of impact. This budget will impact, Madam Speaker, directly and in fact improve the quality of life for every Dominican. The affluent hotelier can look forward to benefiting from the provisions in this budget. The farmer with his 1 acre or several acres can look forward to accessing new lines of credit from local institutions through the provisions of this budget, Madam Speaker. The single mother and the mother of the unborn child can look forward to the establishment of a
health insurance system, Madam Speaker, which is in desperate need, Madam Speaker, not only in Dominica, throughout the Caribbean. And she can look forward to seeing this provision roll out, Madam Speaker. The young persons that are employed for the NEP can look forward to see this program continue, Madam Speaker. And every citizen from every walk of life can, in fact, benefit from this national budget. Madam Speaker, looking at the social pillar of this government's sustainable development thrust in this fiscal year, we can all be encouraged and, in fact, elated to see that all, and I repeat, all of the government's social programs will be continuing in the 2016-2017 financial year, Madam Speaker. And here we speak of programs such as the Yes We Care. I really want to thank the Honorable Catherine Daniel for giving a very clear outline as to the depth of the impact of this program, Madam Speaker. Because this government is not in the business of nice rhetoric, Madam Speaker. This government is in the business of solving people's problems and touching the lives of every Dominican, Madam Speaker. And to see that over 100 Dominicans will continue to benefit from the Yes We Care, this is something we should be proud of. In the Rosa South constituency, Madam Speaker, over 13 persons are benefiting from this program right now, and I am sure their families and their friends are very glad to see that the Yes We Care will be continuing, Madam Speaker. This is the education government, Madam Speaker. And what do I mean by that? I mean that this is the government that has placed the most emphasis and the most resources towards the education of the young generation in the Commonwealth of Dominica, Madam Speaker. Through the building of schools, through the provision of school assistance, Madam Speaker, they have given every Dominican child an equal opportunity to excel academically and set the platform for further economic growth when they become model citizens on the job market, Madam Speaker. And so again, I'm very pleased to see that government's social program to assist single mothers and needy families with uniforms and school shoes will continue in this financial year, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, many of those that have left the labor force and made their contribution did so at a time when they could not contribute to Social Security, Madam Speaker. And as such, we all understand by the presentations of previous speakers and the Prime Minister that they are not truly entitled to a pension, Madam Speaker, from our Social Security. But due to the compassion, the interest and the care of the Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, we see that not only will the non-contributory allowance be continued, but it will in fact be expanded to the level of $300, Madam Speaker. And I can say to you that the residents and constituents of the Rosa South are very happy to be benefiting from this initiative. In fact, just several weeks ago, I was walking through the community of Girodel, and I had the opportunity to dialogue with a family, Mr. and Mrs. Daru, Madam Speaker. And they had so much positive to speak of this program. They are saying that in the years they have been in Dominica working hard, Madam Speaker, in the community of Girodel, in St. Elmo's, they have never seen a leader that is so compassionate to care about the elderly, to bring them this benefit. At the time, they didn't know that they were going to receive an additional $100 or 50% increase. But I'm sure that that was music to their ears, and I'm sure they'll be grateful the next time I visit, and I'll continue to visit them, Madam Speaker, because we care about our elderly. We don't just say we do it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we know, it's very difficult for a single mother to raise a child. I have seen the experience of many single mothers throughout this country, Madam Speaker, and sometimes the situation is heartbreaking. I'll bring to the attention of this Parliament just one such case, and to show the importance of compassion, not just from our leaders such as our Prime Minister, but from a young person in this country, Madam Speaker, who was concerned about the lack of medical care that could be provided for persons in such a similar situation. And I am speaking of Miss Sharina John Baptist, who, a young lady from the Rosa South, rather, Madam Speaker. I withdraw that aspect. But she, with support from this government, brought to Dominica the Hope Foundation. And because of her efforts, Madam Speaker, because of her efforts, a single mother from the community of Kingsley was able to get a life-saving operation for her infant son, Madam Speaker. Her infant son is now 2 years, and I could see just yesterday when this mother and her son were standing next to their home, Madam Speaker, that this young man is standing tall. If this young lady could be so inspired and care so much about single mothers that she would bring the Hope Foundation to Dominica, how can we expect for the Prime Minister not to inspire hope for our single mothers, Madam Speaker? And this insurance program, this health insurance program, could not be more timely, because there are still more mothers with similar situations that I'm aware of right in the Roseau South, Madam Speaker. So it is indeed necessary, and I look forward to seeing this program rolled out throughout this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, trouble falls upon us at times when we least expect it. How many of us have seen a family member lost at a time when we feel that we can't take any more? How many of us have seen the need for urgent medical attention for a relative and not know where we're going to turn to get the resources? Madam Speaker, through the public support program, countless families have been given a ray of hope. They have been given a lifeline, and they have been given, in fact, an extension of their life here on this earth for the medical treatment that they have received due to the resources they were provided from the public support program, Madam Speaker. So for me to hear the Prime Minister announce that this program will be rolled out to 4 regions across the country, Madam Speaker, I can only say may God continue to bless our honorable leader, the Prime Minister, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, on the social front, this budget is solid, Madam Speaker. On the economic front, Madam Speaker, I want to start off by saying, I think genuinely as a young person, any young person growing up in the Commonwealth of Dominica at this time should feel blessed, because we are indeed a blessed generation, Madam Speaker. Generations in the past never knew free school education and free school transportation and such a large number of Dominicans going overseas to study. Generations in the past, whenever there was significant development taking place in the country, would have to bear the weight of additional taxes upon them, Madam Speaker. But thanks to the prudence of the Dominica Labour Party administration, and thanks to the vision of the Prime Minister, we have seen a period of sustained development in the Commonwealth of Dominica that has not been achieved through bearing taxes on the backs of Dominicans, Madam Speaker. The Prime Minister and Minister of Finance has taken that responsibility upon his own back, Madam Speaker. And early in his career as Prime Minister, he started to do so through his dynamic and visionary foreign policy. And now Dominica has allies throughout the world, and genuine allies, Madam Speaker, that we can count on in our time of need, as we saw following the passage of Tropical Storm Erica. But as we know, Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister himself said it, Dominica does not exist in a vacuum, and we must be conscious of what is taking place throughout the world. As we can see throughout the 16 years of this Dominica Labour Party administration, there have been changes in the globe that has also impacted our benefactors and our closest allies, Madam Speaker. Here I'm speaking of the global economic downturn. Here I'm speaking of the significant drop in oil prices, Madam Speaker, that have affected some of our strongest allies. So therefore, grant funding became less and less, Madam Speaker. And the government had to find new strategies, new ways to continue to mobilize the amount of resources that we needed to take the country forward. Once again, Madam Speaker, with the vision of the Prime Minister, he ensured that the Citizenship by Investment program could be revolutionized and taken to a standard that it has never been before in Dominica, Madam Speaker. It is now internationally respected. It now has a very sharp focus, and that focus is to ensure that resources mobilized through this program are used for investment in the productive sector, Madam Speaker. And through investment in the productive sector, we will see increased revenues in this country, we will see increased job creation, Madam Speaker, and in fact, we will have a more sustainable economy, Madam Speaker. So when we're speaking about sustainability, it's not just a buzzword, it's a process, Madam Speaker, and it's a process that the Honorable Prime Minister understands quite well. Throughout this financial year, we will see that several hotels will be built, Madam Speaker, and expanding and improving our tourism product. And here we can speak of the Range Kempinski Hotel in Portsmouth, which is being funded and being developed by international partners. But our local partners are also on board, Madam Speaker. And here we can speak of the Tranquility Beach Resort, which we know is being pioneered or spearheaded by a local entrepreneur, as well as the Jungle Bay Resort, which is being relocated in Soufriere, Madam Speaker, also being spearheaded by a local entrepreneur. So when we speak of the Citizenship by Investment program, this is not, first of all, selling of passports, as I think, thankfully, following the comments of our Honorable Minister of Trade, the opposition now respects that this is in fact, not a program by which we sell passports, but it's a program by which we facilitate investment into the productive sector to create jobs for the very young persons you claim to care about. And Madam Speaker, we will look forward to seeing these and as the Prime Minister indicated, several other such hotel developments taking place from Soufriere in the south to Portsmouth in the north, Madam Speaker, throughout the length and breadth of this country. But further to that, Madam Speaker, the government just did not stop there. They recognize that there are existing hotels, existing guest houses, and restaurants that are also seeking to expand and to contribute further to the gross domestic product. The Labour Party motto, Madam Speaker, says all shall eat. And there's also the saying, when the tide rises, all boats are raised. And it's the same principle that the government is ensuring that every entity within the tourism sector, particularly the members of the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association, will have equal access to a new facility of $15 million, Madam Speaker, which they can then access at unprecedented rates and with unprecedented grace periods, Madam Speaker, to improve the number of rooms and the quality of rooms that they offer to our visitors here in Dominica, Madam Speaker. In the Rosa South, we have numerous hotels and guest houses, Madam Speaker. I will not name them individually, but I can say to you that I am sure that they will be also accessing this facility, and I look forward to seeing the development in the hotel sector in the Rosa South that will result from this very positive initiative of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Tourism, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this sets the platform for expansion and growth in the tourism sector throughout our country. This sets the platform for job creation in the construction sector, Madam Speaker. This increases the market for the fisher folk of Newtown and Loubier, Madam Speaker. And I'm sure they'll be looking forward to providing increased amounts of fish and other marine products to our hoteliers and our restaurants throughout Dominica, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the development in our tourism sector also significantly expands the market for freshly cut flowers, fruits and vegetables, which the flower basket of Dominica, the twin communities of Girondale and Egliston, stand ready to offer, Madam Speaker. And they will be offering them to all of these different establishments as they are, in fact, commissioned and opened as the years roll on, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this budget is setting the platform for expansion of our tourism industry and for creation of sustainable jobs through our sustainable development model, Madam Speaker. On the point of agriculture, I don't know who in Dominica could genuinely believe that agriculture is on a decline. Because, Madam Speaker, I myself as a young person was taken aback to see our leader leading from the front, going from community to community, inspiring young persons to go back to the soil in a way that has never been done before, and establishing young farmers groups throughout this country. On that note, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Prime Minister for directing his staff to meet with the youth of Girondale Egliston towards the establishment of a young farmers group in that community. And we look forward to seeing that group established and, in fact, accessing the facilities that the government has put in place, Madam Speaker. Because it is up to us, the Dominican citizens, to develop this country. It is up to us to go and put our hands in the soil. And I cannot understand why the members of the opposition are so busy planting and sowing, and they don't want our young persons to get involved in agriculture, trying to paint an image of doom and gloom about agriculture, Madam Speaker. That is grossly dishonest, Madam Speaker. And they should desist from doing so. Madam Speaker, when you look at government's investment to stabilize the agricultural sector, we can only commend the Honorable Johnson Drygo and the Cabinet for the work that they have done, Madam Speaker. Black Sikatoka doesn't only affect bananas in Dominica. This is a global and a regional problem. Okay? And I'm very proud to see government's prolonged and committed response to this ailment that is affecting our bananas and our plantain, Madam Speaker. Government has invested millions of dollars in addressing Black Sikatoka. But I just want to make the point, Madam Speaker, that it is up to us, the citizens and the farmers, to continue to work to address this problem in a more sustainable way. Madam Speaker, we also see government is continuing to support the production of peppers and passion fruits through agencies such as Dexia and through the Ministry of Agriculture, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we see a revolutionization of livestock production in Dominica through the establishment of the abattoir. Growing up, we could only expect to procure chicken that was written Tyson or some other foreign brand, Madam Speaker. But I look forward to purchasing all my chicken going forward from local businessmen, from the abattoir, Madam Speaker, and contributing to the Dominican economy. When I do so, I have no fear of genetically modified foods in my body or excess hormones that are being used in these international countries, Madam Speaker. I look forward to enjoying the products that will be supplied from the abattoir and contributing in that way to the Dominican economy, Madam Speaker. But the budget did not stop there, Madam Speaker, and this government does not stop there in respect to agriculture. To ensure that every farmer, young, old, male, female, is empowered, the Prime Minister has put $10 million, Madam Speaker, at the aid bank, which they can access at a rate of 3% and with a grace period of 6 months. I want to say to the young persons of this country, let us accept this challenge. Let us put our hands to the soil. Let us toil together, let us work together, and let us make Dominica once again the fruit basket of the OECS, the fruit basket of CARICOM, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, I look forward to seeing our young persons in the communities of Girardel, Egliston, throughout the Roseau South and throughout Dominica benefiting. Madam Speaker, it's worthy to note that young persons are not only interested in vegetable production, but you heard it from several speakers before. Beekeeping is also on the rise. And I myself am an avid beekeeper, Madam Speaker. So it was very heartening for me to hear the Honorable Ivor Stevenson mention the Young Beekeepers Group in Grand Forks. And the Honorable Johnson Drago mentioned the support to the young beekeepers, I believe in the Kalinago territory, if I'm not mistaken, Madam Speaker. Because those of us that understand again the concept of sustainable development, we understand how important these are in maintaining the biodiversity of the Commonwealth of Dominica. So you must understand the overlap between beekeeping and protecting the flora and fauna, which our tourists will come to Dominica to experience. Sustainable development is not a buzzword. It's a science. It's a scientific process. And this Dominica Labour Party understands this process, Madam Speaker, and we are committed to this process. Madam Speaker, I am very pleased to see that the Prime Minister has allocated some $500,000 for the upgrade of vessels for the transport of produce, agricultural produce and other forms of produce. Madam Speaker, the young people, particularly in Bath Estate, are getting into Hoxton in droves, and in other areas such as Newtown and Lubia as well, Madam Speaker. They are getting into Hoxton. In fact, I myself had the opportunity to sit with them at one of the Hoxton trainings that took place recently, Madam Speaker. And I also will soon be getting my Hoxton license. Because, Madam Speaker, we want to show in this government that we're leading from the front, and we are right there with our young people, Madam Speaker. And I encourage them to access these resources to develop their boats, upgrade their vessels, and to take Dominican produce throughout the Caribbean. Let's build this economy together, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as you know, the Roseau South is the third largest constituency in the country. And so housing is always a challenge for this constituency, or the residents in this constituency, Madam Speaker, because we have a wide variance in terms of socio-economic standing. And so I want to very briefly just thank the Prime Minister and the Honourable Reginald Austri for their commitment to continuing government's housing renovation and sanitation program, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are in the 21st century, and it is totally unacceptable for any person in Dominica, man, woman, or child, young or old, Madam Speaker, to have to use a pit latrine. And Madam Speaker, I myself take very seriously this war on pit latrines, because I understand that it not only will improve the human dignity and quality of life of the citizens that benefit from it, Madam Speaker, it will also serve to reduce vectors and vector-borne diseases, Madam Speaker. So this is not simply a matter of giving people toilets, as the opposition unfortunately try to berate this program to such a low level, Madam Speaker. This is about raising the level and the quality of life of every Dominican. And I feel proud, Madam Speaker, to go throughout the length and breadth of the Roseau South, Madam Speaker, to identify persons that are in need of such support and to bring that to the attention of the Honourable Reginald Austri and the Honourable Prime Minister, so that we can ensure that persons' needs are not laughed at, but are addressed, Madam Speaker. This is what we are here for, and this is what we will commit to do, Madam Speaker.
You have 5 minutes left.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could I get some more time?
Madam Speaker, I move that the Honourable Senator be given 10 more minutes to complete his presentation.
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honourable Senator gets a further 10 minutes to complete his contribution. Those in favour? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Please continue.
on the point of employment, Madam Speaker, we can see that this government cares about the employment standings of our young people. And for the opposition to repeat this, Madam Speaker, no matter how often they repeat it, it will never be true, Madam Speaker. And they must accept that fact. Madam Speaker, the government seeks to employ and engage our young persons through three major aspects, Madam Speaker. Firstly, through their empowerment as self-employed persons, Madam Speaker. We are in the 21st century, and we have seen an end to lifelong jobs, Madam Speaker. Nowadays, the job market is all about contracted work. And so it is even better for a young person to start his or her own enterprise, Madam Speaker, instead of just looking for a job. And so we must commend this government for their support to institutions such as the Dominica Youth Business Trust, the National Development Foundation, and through the Ministry of Commerce and the hard-working Minister, Honorable Rosalind Paul, Madam Speaker, who empower our young people throughout the length and breadth of this country to start their own businesses and create self-employment, Madam Speaker. This is the first line of attack against unemployment for our young people. Secondary to that, Madam Speaker, we understand as we evolve in our economy, we will need to retool our human resources. And this is where the apprenticeship program of the Ministry of Trade comes in, Madam Speaker. A young person who was an unskilled laborer can learn stonework, and he can offer that service throughout the Commonwealth of Dominica. A young lady who couldn't sew can learn the skill of sewing, and then, as was mentioned earlier, Madam Speaker, open her own enterprise or even encourage others to form a cooperative, Madam Speaker. This is what we mean when we say we are focused on addressing the unemployment concerns of our young people, Madam Speaker, by empowering them and training them so they can shape their own destiny, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, further to that, we know that several of our young persons every year return from studying abroad. Most of them having received scholarships from this very administration, Madam Speaker. And so we have the National Employment Program there as a means by which they can gain experience, on-the-job training, and then make a successful transition to the job market, Madam Speaker. And I really want to pause here to dispel as grossly unfortunate the comments by the Senator Thomas, Madam Speaker, which he made last night at this honorable house, Madam Speaker. Because to say to a young person, engage with the NEP for landscaping services, Madam Speaker, that this job is beneath them, is just totally unacceptable, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are in an age where even a security guard, okay, or bus driver is expected to have at least 5 CXCs. Madam Speaker, we are in an age where landscaping is offered at university level. So a young person can get a degree in landscaping, Madam Speaker. And if you can say that about somebody who is landscaping on the side of the road, what are you going to say about a sanitary engineer who is picking up rubbish in your community at night? What are you going to say to a young person whose mother is a cleaner in a school? What are you going to say to that young person? You are sending a very wrong impression. And I want to encourage our young people to continue to take every opportunity you can to enter the job market, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'll make the point even further. There's a young man that I taught in my first job at the Goodwill Secondary School. He's from the community of Newtown. And this young man presently has a landscaping enterprise employing over 3 of his peers in the community of Newtown. And I was able to engage them to do some brush cutting of the Kings Hill Military Cemetery. You have no idea what you're talking about, Senator. You have no idea, quite clearly. Madam Speaker, to take it further than that, we see Madam Speaker, to take it further than that, we can see that there's really a lack of sensitivity on the part of the opposition. And that is also brought out, Madam Speaker, in the comments by the leader of the opposition and just recently by the member for Roseau North, Madam Speaker, saying that this government doesn't care about constituencies that didn't vote for it, Madam Speaker. That is very untrue. In the Roseau South, Madam Speaker, we had a change in terms of political support. But that did not stop the Prime Minister from providing in 2015 over $280,000 for housing development in the Roseau South. That did not stop the Prime Minister from providing scholarships for over 10 young Dominicans from the Roseau South since we have lost the seat, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that did not stop the Prime Minister from investing millions of dollars in the Silver Lake housing program to ensure improved housing for the people of Silver Lake, Madam Speaker. And to close, Madam Speaker, on the environmental front, as an environmental engineer trained by this very government in the People's Republic of China, it is ludicrous for any senator or member of the opposition to claim that government's investment in geothermal energy have been wasted. We have invested, not wasted, invested over $50 million to perfect this resource. And now, Madam Speaker, again through funds from the Citizenship by Investment Program, we should be proud as Dominicans that we can now go it alone in establishing a 7 megawatt plant, Madam Speaker. So these guys have no idea what they are talking about, Madam Speaker, when it comes to geothermal energy. And I look forward to seeing this project roll out over the next 2 years. Madam Speaker, there is so much more to say because there is so much hope and inspiration in this budget, Madam Speaker. But I will stop here and just commend the Honorable Prime Minister for his hard work, his cabinet for their hard work, and to give my commitment to doing everything I can to see these programs become a success. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I am indeed delighted, Madam Speaker, to stand to give my full support to the 2016-2017 budget address as presented by the Prime Minister 2 days ago. Madam Speaker, I want to say that 1 Thessalonians 5:18, Madam Speaker, instructs us to give thanks in all circumstances. And as a nation, we need to recognize the goodness, love, and mercy of God for all of us as individuals and as a nation. Madam Speaker, too often people see the cup half empty instead of being half full, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, last year the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance presented the budget which outlined our plans for the year 2015-2016. Madam Speaker, 1 month, just about 1 month following the budget, which we were all excited and enthusiastic about in going to do our ministerial and constituency matters, Madam Speaker, we were forced, Madam Speaker, to alter our plans and quickly rearrange our priorities, Madam Speaker, in response to the circumstances with which we were confronted. Madam Speaker, having endured and having made such remarkable progress with our recovery post-Erica, we cannot cease thanking God. I want, Madam Speaker, at this point to commend the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance for his prudence and ability to continue to demonstrate leadership qualities, not only in normal circumstances, but under profound, challenging times. Madam Speaker, that is why we will continue to remind the nation that leadership is everything. Madam Speaker, I stood in the House and I listened to the opposition parliamentarians. Madam Speaker, and I listened to the leader of the opposition as he rebutted on the address, on the budget address presented. Madam Speaker, this is a leader and a party in the waiting to govern, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, where is their plan in the event, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, these are men, and among them one woman, with virtually nothing much to do for an entire year. We only call them to Parliament periodically, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker,
Madam Speaker,
these men and women.
Madam Speaker, on a point of order, please.
A point of order, yes. Name the rule first.
Madam Speaker.
Standing order what?
Standing order number.
Madam Speaker, should I really stand in order, Madam Speaker?
Standing order.
Should I read the standing order?
Yes,
Okay.
just tell me the standing order number rule. I know them all by heart. Just
Well,
tell
Madam
me which
Speaker, I have
standing.
not spent 16 years in the House. I don't do it by heart, but I can.
I know you
stand.
can, but you see, when you stand on a point of order, your little booklet should be with you, because
it's right,
I
Madam
don't need to
Speaker.
have
I have
mine
it
there,
now.
because I'm here 16 years, and look, I have it always ready.
Madam Speaker, the point of order, I think it's number.
Come on, please, 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 please. Can we have some order? Standing
Madam
order what?
Number
Okay,
14.
can you continue until he finds it, please, so that we don't waste time? Take your seat, look for it, and then you'll stop me.
Madam Speaker, number 43.
You found it?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear you. What standing order number?
That I can interrupt on a point of order.
No. The
By
point
rising
of
to a
order.
point
I know
of
you
order.
can interrupt on a point of order. I'm
Yes.
asking you, which point of order are you interrupting on?
Madam Speaker, on a correction that I have to make to.
No.
the
Well,
Honourable-
listen, let me tell you how this works. Point of correction is made after the person is speaking. Okay? If it is something you said while you were talking, then you can interrupt. But if it's something they said, then you have to wait. Okay?
No, but she said something.
Who
I
is
rise
she,
on a point of
please?
order?
Who
I'm sorry.
is she, please? Did your
they-
mother not tell you she's the cat's mother?
The Honourable.
No,
Madam
please
Speaker,
have
there is no
respect
need
for members
this.
in the
There is
House,
no need
please.
for this. I apologize.
The member,
to
okay,
the Honourable.
continue.
I apologize to the Honourable.
Thank you.
your
Very,
Minister.
very, very good.
But Madam Speaker, it's important to make the point of correction.
The member, let me tell you how this works. When you make a point of correction about something you said, you can interrupt, and if the member yields, you make your point of correction. A point of order is something. Will you listen and learn? You have a tendency to speak. My mother always told me you cannot learn while you're speaking, and I followed that assiduously.
Mr. Speaker, you say that I cannot interrupt at any point? Is that what you're saying?
I shall repeat it for you. You interrupt on a point of order when one of the rules have been broken. That's one thing. When you interrupt on a point of correction, there are two ways you can do that. If you spoke something if you said something during the course of your contribution, and when the next member speaks, they are misquoting you, you rise on a point of correction. If the member yields to you, you can continue. If the member does not yield, you have to wait until they are finished. On the other hand, if a member is saying something that you don't agree to, you really don't have a say there. You just have to wait until they're finished, and then you will do it after. Right. So can you continue, member?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, at the point that I was interrupted, Madam Speaker, I was making reference to quality time spent, Madam Speaker, on talk shows, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the road and everywhere, where these gentlemen or parliamentarians, Madam Speaker, could find themselves sitting and planning constructively in the event, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I expected the leader of the opposition to, with that plan, come here. By then, he should be very familiar, Madam Speaker, with all the situations on the land that he is not happy with, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, if he's not happy with some of the things that this administration is undertaking, Madam Speaker, he ought to have something to tell us what next to do, or how to counter how he's going to present to change the things that we are doing, or to make suggestions. But, Madam Speaker, he came and he presented something, Madam Speaker, that I can consider to be nothing or empty. Madam Speaker, there was nothing in the delivery by the leader of the opposition that I could sit and say, okay, I think that's a very good point, Madam Speaker. Or somebody listening on the outside could make sense of what was being said. And Madam Speaker, I am also saying that against the backdrop of all of what we have been hearing out there since he presented, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the public is not impressed with anything that they heard. Madam Speaker, the response to the budget started, first of all, with arrogance. Madam Speaker, if you listen to the tone at the time the leader started, he started with arrogance. The second thing was accusation. And accusation after accusation, Madam Speaker. But nothing tangible, nothing that you can say, you can deduce something positive from. Madam Speaker, 2 days ago, the Prime Minister presented a budget with no new tax measures, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is something that has heightened the excitement in our populace, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the public officers, after the Prime Minister delivered his address, all they were saying, I am happy that there were no more taxes, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, they are already seeing the benefit of the budget debate address that was presented. Madam Speaker, we listened to a budget that seeks to positively impact the lives of the vulnerable people among us, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, again, we can think of how these people may have felt following that. Madam Speaker, we also listened to a budget with measures that will facilitate growth in the various sectors, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to say, to present a budget at this time, when we are still preoccupied, Madam Speaker, with resettlement of many families displaced as a result of Tropical Storm Erica, and other aspects of rebuilding the nation, Madam Speaker, it speaks to the prudence of the Prime Minister, his astuteness, and his visionary leadership qualities, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, that is why I will reiterate, leadership is everything. Madam Speaker, opportunities for employment, generating employment, Madam Speaker, is and should be of concern to many people. And so it is for the government of Dominica. Madam Speaker, yesterday I listened to Senator Felix Thomas saying that we need to provide, Madam Speaker, our young people with skills. Madam Speaker, that was appalling. Shame, Madam Speaker. And I'm saying it with no regrets, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it says, Madam Speaker, that these gentlemen do not even pay attention to what is happening to our young people on this island. Madam Speaker, they are not even looking for the opportunities to encourage our young people to take advantage of them, Madam Speaker. And they sit, and he is saying that we need to begin skills, Madam Speaker. We need to do skills for our people. Madam Speaker, allow me to mention briefly some of the measures in the budget which will respond to unemployment. Madam Speaker, let me speak first of the construction of the new hospital. Madam Speaker, we have a quota of staff at the hospital. But if you expand your hospital, Madam Speaker, definitely your quota of staff is going to increase, both during construction, Madam Speaker, and in all the service areas that will be offered. So therefore, we need to position our medical doctors, our specialists, nurses, domestic workers, and all the other services that we will be taking advantage of. Madam Speaker, that is an opportunity for creating employment. That is something new too, because some of them keep saying that we are not presenting anything new. Madam Speaker, $10 million at the Aid Bank to lend to farmers, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, some of our farmers are interested in expanding expanding their production. But we know they are challenged. Some of them are challenged, Madam Speaker, especially when it comes to labor, the labor force, to acquire people, to get people to work for them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, sometimes they really want to do it, but because they have not been producing and selling, they need a little capital at start for them to be able to kick-start their products, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, that is going to allow our farmers to be able to take advantage, to engage more people on the farm to work for them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is an opportunity for employment. Madam Speaker, 15 million at the aid bank to on lend to the hotel sector. Madam Speaker, if the hotel sector expands, we definitely will need more people to provide the services. Madam Speaker, these are simple ABC that I should not be wasting or spending time to talk about. But sometimes we need to do that so that the public can make a contrast between what the opposition says in cabinet and what in parliament and what the government ministers present to them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the various projects to be implemented under the Citizenship by Investment programs, the villas, the hotels, Madam Speaker, the resettlement program, and I can speak to the resettlement program briefly, because we know that Dubic, we just did the resettlement of the Dubic community. Madam Speaker, quite a few of my own constituents were employed there. And so if we go to Bellevue Shope, where the resettlement is on a wider scale, Madam Speaker, you can well imagine the hundreds of young people that will be engaged. Madam Speaker, and we need to pay attention, whether it is short-term or long-term, it is employment. They are not sitting idle. Madam Speaker, improvement on the road network, Madam Speaker, post-Erica, and as we continue. Madam Speaker, in April, the government signed 28 contracts, Madam Speaker, 10 of which were for work in the South, costing in excess of $3.1 million, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, during the time, and work still continues as we speak, Madam Speaker, because there is still other areas where they have to continue to work. And Madam Speaker, we saw in excess of 40 young men from the South, and the contractors were all from the South, Madam Speaker, engaged in those areas. Madam Speaker, these were young men who were sitting doing nothing, Madam Speaker. That is employment, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if we have to look at the construction sector, Madam Speaker, the washroom facilities that we do, the housing revolution that we continue with, Madam Speaker, the National Employment Program, Madam Speaker, where we have 1,344 people engaged, of which about 68% are young people. And I mean, we can go a little higher because I was just looking at the age group that we use to define youth. But Madam Speaker, these are young people who were sitting at their home waiting for an opportunity for gainful employment, Madam Speaker. These are young people, Madam Speaker, who do not have to depend on their parents or on somebody else to take advantage of them because they are unemployed. Madam Speaker, they can now, at the end of the month, get their pay packet, spend to take care of themselves, for those with children, take care of their families and their extended grandparents and all of those that they love and care for. So, Madam Speaker, when we sit, and I just named a few, Madam Speaker. So when we sit and we listen to what the opposition had to say, Madam Speaker, we would be happy to know that we can employ all our people, but that is something that we will never achieve. Madam Speaker, unemployment, youth unemployment, is a global issue. I am not saying that to console myself or to say that we should not go the extra mile to ensure that our young people are engaged. Because that is why the Labour Party government continues to do what we are doing to ensure that we can provide an opportunity to them for employment. Madam Speaker, in all of the projects that I spoke of, or I mentioned of, Madam Speaker, these are projects that will touch the lives of the ordinary man. The families who are a little challenged in terms of their economic strength, Madam Speaker, or their economic power. Madam Speaker, these are the people that those projects will touch and will continue to touch, and somehow we will see an improvement in their standard of living. Madam Speaker, all that is required of all of the young people and all of the people is to ensure that they position themselves to take advantage of it. And so, Madam Speaker, what the opposition should be doing when the Honorable Prime Minister presented is to note all the various projects, to go back to their various communities and tell them, look, let us prepare ourselves and get ready for this opportunity. Let us get ready for this hotel that is going to, let's do something. What program can we offer? And that is all of that the youth division and the other employment agencies will do. Look at what is coming and prepare our young people to take advantage of those opportunities. Madam Speaker, let me move on and speak a little of my ministry, the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Constituency Empowerment. While, Madam Speaker, we wish as a government that we would stop making reference to Erica, but Madam Speaker, it's almost impossible. Because I can speak as a minister responsible in those areas of the adverse effect that Tropical Storm Erica had on this ministry, sports, youth, culture, and constituency empowerment. Madam Speaker, as a result of Erica, quite a few of our capital projects had to be set aside so that we can now pay attention to more urgent matters and to make sure that we could take care of the people who were affected. Madam Speaker, sometimes we have to put all of those structural plans behind and think of people. People comes first for the Dominica Labour Party administration, Madam Speaker. And so, in the ministry, while we were excited and prepared to move forward with the plan that we had, but somehow we understood and we gave full support to the wider government administration to make sure that we can take care of these people. And Madam Speaker, the government continues. That is just the beginning. We will continue to take care of them until they are settled. And that is why sometimes we must make reference to Tropical Storm Erica. Madam Speaker, let me speak of youth. And let me just remind Senator Felix Thomas, Madam Speaker, that the Youth Skills Training Program in Dominica started in 1982. In 1982. And government took over that program in 1988, Senator Thomas. Since then, and with the present Labour Party administration, we continue to make the skills program relevant to the present age that we are in. So from time to time, the youth division, staff of the youth division will go out there, meet the young people, interact with them, listen to them, and we do it as politicians too. We listen to them and be able to identify the need of the country and develop modules and programs to suit the time. As a result of all of that, we still continue, and I listen, even if I was absent this morning, but I listened intently to Honorable Drygo when he made reference and spoke strongly of the program, the boat-making program in Castle Bruce. Madam Speaker, Honorable Kelva Daru, can speak to his own programs in his constituency, Madam Speaker. Sufuya can speak to it, Madam Speaker. Grand Bay can speak to it, Madam Speaker. Grand Fort can speak to it, Madam Speaker. In most of the communities across the island, Madam Speaker, we touch the lives of the young people. Madam Speaker, some of our young people, some of them may have CXCs and GCEs and maybe even have degrees, but at the same time, they are also still very interested in doing skills. And so we also have some who are more inclined to doing hands-on instead of sitting at an office. Because as one of my colleagues said earlier, office work is not all, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, every job that brings money is dignified, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, we continue our computer literacy program because we know in this age of technology, our young people must be computer savvy, Madam Speaker. And not just the skill in computer literacy, but they need to be able to maintain the computers. And so we do computer maintenance. I'm telling you, write them down so you can remember. Madam Speaker, with the amount of vehicles that are coming in on a daily, recently when I met the Honorable Prime Minister, he made mention of a ship coming in with about 100 and something vehicles in one day into Dominica. Madam Speaker, we need auto body repairs. And so the Youth Skills Training Program offers that module to our young people. And Madam Speaker, there is money in that program, in that skill. Madam Speaker, I have a vehicle I can tell you, all of us drive, and we know how expensive it is to take it to the garage, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, woodwork, construction is on, cupboards have been built, houses, are being constructed. We do woodwork with the young people in some of the areas. Electrical wiring, plumbing, these are skills that are in great demand, Madam Speaker. And so we engage our young people in giving them the skill that they require to go out there. Madam Speaker, out of all of those, we do pedicure, we do manicure, we do all of these things because every young woman wants to be pretty, braiding, we do stone cutting, just name it, Madam Speaker. And so we identify the area of need and where some people can be gainfully employed, and we train them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, after the youth division, after we conduct the training, these people are exposed to some work experience. So we put them on internship or attachment, Madam Speaker. And some of these young people have become gainfully employed in the areas where they do the internship or attachment. So basically, all we are saying with that, Madam Speaker, is that when the young people get there, they need to take advantage and perform with a positive attitude so that the employer is encouraged to keep them, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the opportunities are there. So our young people need to take advantage of that. But not just in those areas, Madam Speaker. The youth division and the government of Dominica thinks that we need to look at the holistic development of our young people, not just give them a skill. So we also do life skills with them so that they can understand how to deal with challenges that they are faced with, so that they can better adjust to the environment they are in, deal with stressful situations, take care of their health. Madam Speaker, it's a whole program to look at life skills and how they can manage in the outside world, Madam Speaker. And so I was also dumbfounded, Madam Speaker, when I heard at the graduation, thank you, Honorable Daru, for representing me, of the program with the young people. Madam Speaker, I am not against whatever the opposition member wants to speak about. But Madam Speaker, what I am saying is we were dealing with at-risk youth. At-risk youth, Madam Speaker. These are young people who have found themselves in conflict with the law, Madam Speaker. These are young people who are challenged, Madam Speaker, and not able to fight and to be able to stand up to the challenges of society. Madam Speaker, these are some young people who may have been exposed to the same thing that we're trying to push them to get into, Madam Speaker, and may have affected them one way or the other. But Madam Speaker, we're trying to rehabilitate these young people. And for you to tell me a member of the opposition sits at a graduation where we are dealing with at-risk youth, and that is what you want to share with them. That is the advice you want to give at-risk youth. Madam Speaker, it was not given to a health sector or herbalist or something, so we can say, let us look at the positive effects there, you know. We know of the negative impact on our young people, Madam Speaker, and that is the best place. Tell me if these are men who are interested in the well-being of our young people. Madam Speaker, we continue with all our programs, and we will continue with them daily, on an annual basis, or every day as we go along and as the need arises, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in addition to all of those things, the skills program, we also offer, Madam Speaker, some adolescent multimedia training program. We did that. And that was funded, Madam Speaker, by UNICEF. And Madam Speaker, because of the success of this program, where the young people were trained in videography, in photography, we were able to help them to use the video and the audio and radio and all of those things, and to help them with public speaking, Madam Speaker, to improve their communication. Because of the success of that program, Madam Speaker, UNICEF has this year agreed to partner with us in Dominica again and to give us $27,000 for a second program, Madam Speaker. That is the success work of the Dominica Labour Party, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have other organizations through which we work with our young people. We have the 4-H Club, Madam Speaker, where we continue every year through the secondary schools and primary schools to work with these young people, to share with them life skills, to help these young people to appreciate nature, to help them to use our local agricultural products, Madam Speaker, so that they can continue to live sustainable lives, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, we continue with this program. Madam Speaker, we have the Dominica Youth Business Trust. We have the skills program, and we have the Dominica Youth Business Trust. The Dominica Youth Business Trust, Madam Speaker, continues to assist our young people in developing their business plan, because some young people are sitting and they want to do something, but they need somebody to give them guidance and to walk them through it. And so, Madam Speaker, they develop their business plan. After, Madam Speaker, it's all well and good to have a plan, but Madam Speaker, they will need money. Our young people have not worked. Their parents may not have collateral to go to the bank and take a loan for them. So the Labour Party administration started with Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit as the Minister of Youth, Honorable Prime Minister, started during his time as Minister responsible for youth, when he made money available, Madam Speaker, so that the young people can access money at the financial institutions. Madam Speaker, reviewing that program, we still recognize that the young people had challenges because we were only guaranteeing 75% of the loan. We sit as a cabinet and discussed it and recognized, look, some of our young people still are not able to access the money because they have to get 25%. Madam Speaker, we now offer them 100% guarantee so that they can get the loan to begin their businesses. In addition to that, we do not give it to them and let them go. We train mentors and put mentors to work with them, Madam Speaker, so that the mentors can walk them through and carry them until they are able to stand on their own, and we can make sure that the businesses are sustainable, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we encourage our young people, having received all of that, we encourage them to get involved in volunteerism programs, Madam Speaker, and they embrace it. Every year we have hundreds of young secondary and college students who are working with younger children, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, all of these programs are carried on by the Youth Development Division, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this year we are hoping to continue with all of those programs. And I know the Dominica Youth Business Trust, the Minister of Finance, has given us the commitment that he will ensure that there is money for them to be able to continue, make money available to continue their businesses. The young people can go into their businesses, Madam Speaker. So I know they are all excited and waiting patiently, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if I am to speak, Madam Speaker, of culture under the Cultural Division, during post-ERICA, the Cultural Division, the Sports Division, all of the departments within my ministry were engaged with the people who were affected during the storm. And so it did interrupt some of our programs, but I can tell you we continued well. So while it interrupted our planned program, we just moved and worked with the people who were affected. Because you know we can use culture, we can use sports as a way of helping people manage and deal with their stress. Yes, it has been psychosocial benefits. So, Madam Speaker, we use that to work with the people who were affected. Madam Speaker, the Cultural Division continues to offer all its programs, dance, training in various areas, ensuring that we can carry out the various cultural activities that we normally do, filming and making sure that we can do our documentaries all the time, so that if persons come in, Madam Speaker, they can have the documentary on our culture, Madam Speaker. So we continue to do all of those things and host all of the programs. Madam Speaker, the Dominica Institute for Arts is continuing to offer programs, and this year we'll be offering programs at tertiary level, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the Cultural Division continues, and there is plenty of work to be done, Madam Speaker, but we will be relentless in ensuring that we can accomplish and do all of what we have to do. Madam Speaker, as we go through this year, 2016-2017, we expect to see work, Madam Speaker, and it is outlined in the estimates that we will be doing work on the Old Mill Cultural Center, the stage at the Old Mill, because we know that the Old Mill stage has been there for a while and kind of deteriorating in light of all of the weather and all of the environmental changes, Madam Speaker. And as a result of that, we have seen in the estimate where we have 200 and 2,100, Madam Speaker. And that work, Madam Speaker, that money was made available by the government of Dominica and through Alba Cultural. So we will see work on the Old Mill Cultural Center stage. Madam Speaker, we know the work to be done is in excess of $1 million. But we will do it incrementally, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also have the Arawak House of Culture, which is one of our, in fact, the only cultural center that we have on island, and so we have to ensure that it is properly maintained. So this year, $173,500 has been made available so that we can have to replace the stage, the flooring, and the steps and some of the sidings, Madam Speaker, because some of it is affected by termites. And so definitely we will be seeing some work at the Arawak House of Culture. But Madam Speaker, also we will be seeing improvement in the acoustic and in the songs and all of that funded by the Alba Cultural. So this year definitely the Cultural Department Division will be benefiting from some of the programs of the government. Madam Speaker, I know the other topic, which is sports, is something that will ignite a little excitement in some people or disappointment, because we knew that we had under the last year's budget, we were supposed to do the indoor sports facility, Madam Speaker. We were supposed to do some of our playing fields, Madam Speaker. And thanks to my colleagues who, soon after Erica told us, were brave enough to say, let us set aside my playing field and let us redirect the money into other areas post-Erica. And so they made life a little easier, and they were able to speak to their constituents who would understand that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in spite of all of that, we continue all our programs in the sports division. Granted, yes, we had to cancel a few. The cricket tour to St. Lucia, we had to cancel our athletics meet for independence, some of our sports festival. Yes, we had to do that because of the cost incurred on hosting those things. So we agreed, let us give support to the post-Erica recovery plan. But Madam Speaker, in spite of that, all the schools were serviced. We did our physical education programs at all the schools. We continued our caravan, sports caravan, to go to all of the schools across the island, to do cricket, netball, basketball, volleyball, football, to do training, Madam Speaker, with our umpires and our physical education teachers. Madam Speaker, we continued our plan to make sure, Madam Speaker, we are positioned to represent our country, because as I speak, Madam Speaker, we have in excess of 60 young people in Grenada taking part in the Greenwood Island school games. And Madam Speaker, to send all of those people, and plus our coaches and so the other officers, Madam Speaker, that in itself cost us in excess of $150,000, Madam Speaker. And that is the investment in sports and in our young people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this year under sports, we will see the continuation of work at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium in covering some of our stands, Madam Speaker. As I speak, Madam Speaker, we have already signed contract and we have received the zinc for covering the Irving Shillingford and Gary Grayson Shillingford stands, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I can assure this honorable House that the contractor has given us the commitment that he's going to start work this weekend because the materials are there. Madam Speaker, we also see in the budget, Madam Speaker, $600,000 towards the stadium, Madam Speaker. We are now in one phase of the building of the repairs, but next year we will be doing a second phase. So this $600,000 will just complete this phase that we are in and now move to the new stand, new other areas that we need to cover to ensure that, because some of the areas are a little problematic, and so we have to ensure that we can maintain the standard at the stadium. Because I know that we are trying as much as possible to see if we can welcome cricket into Dominica again next year. So, Madam Speaker, we have to make sure that we can maintain the stadium to that level. We will also see, Madam Speaker, the scoreboard. We saw in the budget that we have $1,387,000 for the purchase of a new scoreboard. Our scoreboard now is 9 years old. And you know, Madam Speaker, with the rapid change in technology, it can become obsolete very fast and problematic, Madam Speaker. And so we will be purchasing a new scoreboard for the stadium. Madam Speaker, we will also see in this financial year the construction of a house to secure our gymnastic facilities that were given to us by our friendly government, the People's Republic of China. Madam Speaker, as we speak, that all of the gym equipments are there, so we need to build the structure to place them in it. And we are hoping, Madam Speaker, that the private sector can own up and come up and partner with us for the operation of this gym facility. Madam Speaker, we also have on our way, and by mid-August, Madam Speaker, we should see a container arriving with spare parts and lamps and electricals and plumbing equipment for the stadium from the People's Republic of China. And so I want to thank the People's Republic of China for the continued support that they continue to give us. But Madam Speaker, also what is very important is that even the technical team that are there from China, they are now training our people to be able to take over so that they can continue the maintenance. And Madam Speaker, that is opportunities for employment for our Dominican people. If they get the skill, they are able to continue to work in those areas, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I said earlier, our indoor sports facility had to be shelved temporarily. And so, in order to meet the needs and the requests of the basketball fans, we have decided at this time, the Cabinet and the Prime Minister and all of us have decided that we will move soon to cover the Massac basketball court. And so we have in excess of $600,000 allocated in the budget for this. Madam Speaker, we have the estimates, and I think we are at the stage of putting together the design so that we can move speedily in covering this facility. But I can also say to my sports fan out there that the Honorable Prime Minister has instructed us to move speedily with the preparation for the indoor sports facility. But I can say to the Honorable Prime Minister that we were already at a point where all we wanted was the finance. So we are ready to roll as soon as money becomes available. Madam Speaker, lighting of our our playing fields also suffered as a result of Erica. But I want to thank the Dominica Lotteries Commission for making $749,000 available for the lighting of 5 playing fields. And as we speak, Madam Speaker, they have the Lotteries Commission have already paid the amount of money that was required for the shipping of the equipment, and I can say to you that the equipment have been shipped from China. So they should be on island soon, and as soon as they come in, I think the Solaris people have given us the commitment that as soon as the things arrive, they will be on island to begin work. And the work should not take more than 2 months for completion from speaking with the Solaris people. So we have the Vekas playing field, the Jolly John playing field, Tebow and La Plaine and the Geneva playing field. All of these to be lit, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we continue to work on our sports policy to ensure that we can make it relevant and we can consolidate the effort and the work of all of the various sporting disciplines, and we can see the movement in sports even easier. So, Madam Speaker, the sports division continues to work feverishly to make sure that all of our sports program continues, and I can say to you the ministry staff is ready and willing to work hard to ensure that all of these projects will be completed in the soonest in this new financial year. Madam Speaker, I really at this point want to thank the staff of the Ministry of Youth, Sports, Culture and Constituency Empowerment for their commitment, Madam Speaker, in ensuring that things work as it is supposed to. Madam Speaker, in spite of all of the challenges, and sometimes the setbacks that we have. But I know the staff is committed because their watchwords in the ministry watchwords are efficiency and effectiveness. And so they are trying very, very hard to ensure that we can be effective in what we do and we can efficiently manage the resources and give the service that is required. Madam Speaker, allow me to speak briefly on the Grand Bay constituency. And at this point, Madam Speaker, I really want to extend thanks to all the constituents from Mountain, Tetmon, Grand Colibri, and the Grand Bay community, the wider Grand Bay community, Madam Speaker. I really want to thank them for their continued support, their continued partnership in ensuring that we can move the agenda of the constituency, the development of the constituency. We can do that together, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from all of the programs that were mentioned, all of the measures that were mentioned in the budget, Madam Speaker, I want to say that my senior citizens, 70 and over, Madam Speaker, having spoken to a few of them after the presentation of the budget by the Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, I can say to you they are very elated. Madam Speaker, most of them were very grateful for the $200 that the government was giving. Madam Speaker, without that, life was a little more difficult. It was a little more challenging for them to meet their needs. And so they were very, very thankful. And so you can well imagine, Madam Speaker, how happy they are now to know that there is a 50% increase, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we must look at the glass half full instead of half empty, Madam Speaker. And we must be thankful when those kind of gestures can become practical, Madam Speaker, and meet the needs and touch the lives of our citizens, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in Grand Bay at this point, in the Grand Bay constituency, I have 223 70 and over receiving that $200 allowance, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, all of these people will continue to receive the money with the 50% increase. Madam Speaker, the National Employment Program in the Grand Bay constituency has touched the lives of 43, and I'm hoping by September, thank God, I had approval from the Minister of Finance for an additional few to join in the cleanup and beautification of the constituency. And so, Madam Speaker, by September, we will have 49 people engaged, Madam Speaker, under the National Employment Program. And I can say to you, these people who are engaged are very happy that at the end of the month, they can receive the monies that they receive to take care of themselves and their family, to assist in taking care of themselves and their family. Madam Speaker, we are thankful for the National Employment Program. Madam Speaker, our road network in the Grand Bay constituency, we have seen improvement in those road network. Yes, there is some more work to be done, Madam Speaker, and I know, I need not speak about it because I know we will continue. Madam Speaker, as we speak, there are about 36 new people benefiting from the washroom program. And Madam Speaker, this program to eradicate pit toilet, I think is one of the, I can consider it to be one of the best programs that probably I have come across, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, as was said earlier, you can well imagine, Madam Speaker, you live in a neighborhood, Madam Speaker, where houses are close together, and this one pit toilet, Madam Speaker, is in the middle of that area. Sometimes you have water entering those washrooms, and so, Madam Speaker, it sends up a stench. Madam Speaker, we have roaches in there, we have vectors, Madam Speaker, and you know the unpleasantness. And Madam Speaker, what is even for me more important is that the seniors, the physically challenged, the children will not have to leave their homes and go outside when it is raining, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, they just walk from their drawing rooms, from their bedroom, into their washrooms, Madam Speaker, and sit comfortably and enjoy that comfort of knowing that they have their washroom. And Madam Speaker, some of these people, those who are challenged even in getting waters to the homes, we must ensure you cannot give them a washroom, Madam Speaker, without water and have them carry it. So we assist some of them in getting their connections, Madam Speaker, so that they can enjoy the full benefit of the washroom washroom programs, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, part of the of the measures, I am hoping that my farmers in Granby heard the measures, Madam Speaker, and are willing and ready, Madam Speaker, to take advantage of the facility at the aid bank. Madam Speaker, I'm aware of some of my farmers in Granby who've benefited from the programs at in the Ministry of Agriculture. I know some people who have done their poultry, some people who are doing their butchering, some people who are doing their planting of their bananas, and so some of them have benefited, Madam Speaker. And I'm hoping that others will follow suit and take advantage of that facility. Because what is important, Madam Speaker, is that the interest rate is low, and Madam Speaker, there is a grace period. The grace period allows them to cultivate, harvest, and so they can begin to generate some more monies that they can expand as they go off and take care of their families, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as a nurse, I can say to you, the health insurance for the young mothers and for the children is very, very important, Madam Speaker, and will benefit quite a bit of our young people. Because we know, Madam Speaker, I usually say to people, the most expensive service in any island is health and education. And so we know it can be a challenge for some of our young people. And very often, we have to resort to the social programs within the Prime Minister's office to assist some of those people in meeting their financial needs, Madam Speaker, to ensure that they can remain in good health. And so, Madam Speaker, all of the social programs will continue, and so I know my Granby people will benefit from that. The farmers will benefit from the programs, Madam Speaker. I know also...
You have 5 minutes left.
That's fine, Madam Speaker. That's okay. Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, I am just happy that this budget is really geared towards addressing the plight and the needs of our underprivileged, those who are marginalized among us, Madam Speaker, because we must not just enjoy the benefits and do not share it with them. But, Madam Speaker, importantly is, I want also, as I went through the estimate, I saw most of my capital projects, Madam Speaker, most of them are going to be funded by the government of Dominica, as I said, some of them ALBA, some of them other funding agencies, and, Madam Speaker, from money from the CBI, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, I will just touch to say that I think the CBI, for us in Dominica, is something that is a blessing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, these CBI programs and the monies generated from those programs, Madam Speaker, I can safely say, will touch the lives of every man in this country. Every man in this country through the programs that are going to be funded from those programs. And so people need to understand and appreciate the need for those programs and how they can impact their lives. And we must not allow people, all they tend to look at is the negative, the glass half empty, and try to propagate negative things and to try to turn our people, Madam Speaker, into deviant behavior, into doing the wrong things, to breaking the law in this country, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, I just pray that our people can continue to remain committed to the Dominica Labour Party, to the work of the government, and, Madam Speaker, committed to the development of their country, Madam Speaker, most importantly, because Dominica is for all of us to build, Madam Speaker, not just a few. So with those few words, Madam Speaker, I want to say that I wholeheartedly support the budget as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister. God bless. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House be suspended until 7:15 this evening.
Seconded, Madam Speaker. It has been moved and the member has permission to sit here because of the positioning of the air conditioning over her head. She did have permission to sit there. Okay, I'm just making that clear to all and sundry. And as I was saying, it has been moved and seconded that this Honorable House be suspended until 7:15 tonight. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This Honorable House stands suspended until 7:15. And the members must wait until the Speaker rises to do so. Thank you. Until 7:15.